Hello, and welcome to a very special edition of the Defend the Trash podcast. Now, you're probably asking yourself a couple questions. What is the Defend the Trash podcast, and what makes this edition so special? Well, the Defend the Trash podcast is typically our Patreon exclusive podcast that we put out every 4 weeks or so. If you've heard our Defend the Trash podcast in the past, I want to say thank you for your continued support. If you have not, and you're interested in hearing us discuss the once hallowed and appreciated platform of interactive media known as video games. You can subscribe over on our Patreon. I thought that was pretty good. You can subscribe over on our Patreon. We have lowered our podcast now. It's in the $1 tier. Never more.
What can you buy for $1 in this world?
A month. What could you possibly have to lose to listening to three just self-loathing individuals discuss video games? This edition of the Defend the Trash podcast available on YouTube publicly. We felt it was a special occasion with E3 having just gone by this past week. Very exciting asterisk stuff going down at this year's Electronic Entertainment Expo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the world's largest publishers, and also Devolver Digital, showing off their latest and greatest and upcoming titles. We did a predictions podcast,
and we fucking nailed it.
We pretty much nailed it. Yeah, we pretty much got everything. If you're joining us on YouTube, I'm Ben, joined with two of Defend the House producers, Joe and James, and who you already know, very familiar with from the review roundups.
Yes, everyone's favorite videos on the channel.
They were very, very inebriated, under the influence, brought me in. Very, very poor judgment call. I'm kind of here to help guide the conversation away. So, gentlemen, Electronic Arts started the weekend's events on Saturday. We pretty much, a lot of Battlefront 2, really terrible buzzwords and marketing, and no Mass Effect. What do you guys think of Electronic Arts' press conference?
This is the one I actually missed. I was out for this one, which
is...
you
didn't miss anything.
Yeah, looking at E3 as a whole, kind of lucky that this was the one I missed, but I don't actually have an opinion on the conference itself. I came home and I watched the highlights, so Jameson, I will let you take away the overall package of EA's conference.
I wouldn't necessarily call anything from that show a highlight, more of a low light. What did they even show? Game-wise, like they showed
Need for Speed,
which is just a Fast and Furious movie now.
That sounds good.
It might be.
I don't know. Like Vin Diesel's done Wheelman. I don't know how they didn't get him for this.
He's expensive.
That's true.
Fast and Furious movies make like $1 billion.
Highest grossing
dollars.
franchise of all
Pretty
time.
much.
What, in movies, really?
No, I don't. That's not true.
I could believe that.
But
the new one made so much money.
What did they show? They showed Battlefront 2.
Yes.
And no other Star Wars properties, which was a little surprising. And I would say the highlight. Okay, if there is one true highlight of that show for me, it was that co-op game, A Way Out from the Brothers.
Yes.
That thing
I would agree.
Just looks super cool, and I love that they're making a game that is like limited to. Like, you can only play it in co-op. Fuck you.
Is there no AI?
There's no other way to play it. You either are playing it with a human being sitting beside you on a couch or a friend online, and that's it.
That's risky.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
That seems like the only way to play a game like that to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he says you should only really play it sitting beside the person beside you, but they did put online in for friends, not matchmaking, but you can, play it with a friend. Which I think that's great. I think more games should put limits on the ways you can play it. Just be like, we're making this thing, and we're doing it our way, and there's no other option. Sorry, but that's what we wanted to do, and I think that's great. And
I'm looking forward to that. I loved Brothers. We actually reviewed it a long time ago.
We did, yeah. Brothers was an excellent game. Another similar thing, where it's not co-op, but it sort of was messing with like player control and you had like one brother on each thumbstick for movement, and it was always a little weird, but it was another thing where it's like, this is a neat like experiment,
good little innovation,
in the way you play the game.
Experiment's a good word.
And then also, not only was it interesting playing, not always enjoyable, but it was always interesting. They had a really great, their world in that game was amazing, and then told a pretty solid little story. And so I suspect, A Way Out was the highlight, because it was like, here's this indie game that is like being really ambitious and doing something totally new. And ambition and newness are not necessarily things that you associate with EA very often. They just sort of coast.
That's true.
They like to coast, and that's fine. They're a big company, they can do that. But you missed lots of really, really, really bad things with like YouTubers and Twitch streamers.
Oh god, I saw that that guy from Prank versus Prank when he messed up the teleprompter.
Donkey summed up a lot of the memes that occurred during the
that was rough.
Yeah, it's cringy.
And as usual, their sports segment was like 9 hours long and had people talking for too long and trying to be funny. And EA was definitely the low light in terms of both games shown and presentation stuff, because, man, boy.
They did announce the new Battlefield 1 expansions, and that actually looked in the Name of the Tsar. Yeah. And I thought it actually looked pretty good. I'll be honest.
So it's surprisingly far off. Like that. This is only the second expansion, and the last one came out in March. Like September is.
4 was cranking them out.
It was like every 2 months almost, or maybe 3 months. Yeah. But yeah, snow maps. I've recently just finally had Battlefield 1 click, and it's a good game, and I look forward to more maps for it, I guess.
Yeah, me too.
What do you think about Battlefront? I was surprised for the show as a whole that we didn't see any of its campaign, which is a bit of a disappointment.
There's a lot of cinematic trailers leading up to E3 to kind of show where the plot's going to be going.
Yeah, they did put out that campaign trailer for Battlefront 2 like a month, at the Star Wars thing or whatever in April. But I was sort of hoping to see like a mission, to see what they're doing, like with the gunplay. Like, what are they doing in the campaign? Is it just maybe one mission, one mission that was scripted as balls, or even if just anything really, I think, from the campaign, just to see what the tone would kind of be like. Yeah, I was, before you mentioned even just one campaign mission, I was kind of like, I don't really wanna. I'd like to have that experience kind of left, because I'm gonna. Oh, sure. It's gonna be I'll liken it a lot to the way early Call of Duty games were, where you'd come for the campaign and stay for the multiplayer. I'm looking forward to Battlefront 2's campaign, because I love Star Wars lore, and I'd be interested to see how this fits in the timeline. And so, and then the multiplayer, I thought, looked more like the original Star Wars Battlefront 2 than anything, like any mod. Like, it looked damn near cut and dried like the original Battlefield 2. Like, the tank controls, some of the maps look very inspired from, well, obviously from the locations, but even from the original Star Wars Battlefront 2. And we're getting Space Assault back, which is one thing we called in the predictions video, I think. Oh, yeah. So it's, I think Battlefront 2 is going to be fine. I'm looking forward to it now more than I was before I saw it. I agree. Yeah, it looks solid. I mean, it's not like, I wouldn't say there's anything surprising about it, but it looks like they learned a lot. They talked a lot in that press conference about how much we got a lot of constructive criticism over Battlefront, and it's just like, I mean, I guess you could call it that. It was mostly people going you shipped a $30 game for $60, but that's. I was shocked to hear them say that. The CEO and the actress lady and multiple people said Star Wars Battlefront wasn't good enough, and it's like, wow, okay, cool for them to say that out loud, and they seem to be. It seems to be reflected in the game. At least that demo. We'll get the beta eventually, and then it'll be out. And
it's always very hard to place predictions or get excited about multiplayer experiences, because you can just look at them and think they seem neat, but until you get your hands on it and feel the way it's balanced and the little nuances which make multiplayer click with you as a player, you really can't kind of can't predict that until you get your hands on it. So I will be picking it up, campaign, a fresh multiplayer, but I'm not sold yet. I mean, I'm literally going to buy it, but I'm not sold that I am going to be invested in the multiplayer.
Your conscience isn't sold yet.
That was a bad use of that term. I'm not sure.
Your vain consumerism is like, yeah, I'm all in, but like deep down your heart, you're like, I don't feel totally. Yeah.
It's like I'm going to buy it, but I don't know if I want to. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm not sure.
And of course, they announced Anthem, which we will talk about in
Microsoft.
Literally minutes when we discuss the Microsoft conference.
Yeah.
But there was, like I said before, no mention of Mass Effect support, which I find tragically hilarious.
I find it utterly unsurprising. They didn't even show it. Like when they announced that, like EA Access and all that is free for the next week. They didn't even you didn't even see a picture of Mass Effect in that whole conference.
Not even a JPEG.
Not even a JPEG. Yeah. So, which I'm not surprised.
That's amazing.
And jumping slightly ahead, when I saw Anthem, I was like, oh, this is where all the resources went.
Yes.
At BioWare.
That's a good point. I never considered that.
You read that Kotaku story and it's like, we built the game in 18 months. And it's like, oh, yeah, it shows. And then you look, and then you also read that article and it's like, there was a lot of, weird issues between Edmonton and Montreal. And it's like, then you see Anthem and you're like, oh, they have all the resources and all the money. And Andromeda certainly did not. So, whatever. Mass Effect, it's fine. It's
dead to me.
Just rest well.
So moving on, we had the next day.
Wait, is that it for EA? I'm trying to remember. I think you're right.
Yeah,
literally.
Yep, that's
it. Was
much it. Yeah.
I'll just say EA has had a bad show for 4 years in a row now. They just. I was a little surprised that they didn't mention anything about their other Star Wars projects, but they're obvious. It's obvious that Battlefront is easy to make because DICE is ginormous and they've made Battlefield for 20 years now, and I am so much more interested in those single player Star Wars games that are getting made. So I was a little disappointed to not see any of that, but they're still
Absolutely.
I think the Amy Hennig thing is for next fall. So, and then the Respawn game, it was announced 6 months ago that they were making it. So that's a.
We didn't get anything Titanfall 2.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not really surprised, honestly. They've got their free DLC plan, and they just sort of keep putting out a little update every month or so. And Battlefield 1 sold really well. Titanfall 2 did not.
I will say this about EA as well. In closing, we talked about A Way Out.
Yeah,
and that was a unique, fresh IP. It wasn't a reboot. It wasn't something that we've seen before, really. Sure, there have been cooperative action-adventure games, per se. But this one, it came out of left field because there was no possible way you could have predicted it. Nobody saw probably Need for Speed coming, but it's Need for Speed.
They announced Need for Speed a month ago, so.
Oh, did they actually?
Yeah, I forgot about it. It was just a press release, I'm pretty sure, but, whatever.
So, but yeah, once you see the word Need for Speed, you know what it is.
Yeah, it's a car game.
To me, A Way Out was very, very interesting to me. Probably was the best piece of the show. We knew we were going to get Battlefront 2 at the wazoo, but being excited about a new, fresh IP out of nowhere was very, very cool. Something that we just we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Last year with Days Gone, oh, cool, it's cool, but it's another zombie survival massive horde game. It's a new IP, but we've seen this genre before.
Yeah. I agree. It was really cool to see something new and actually innovating in the game side of it. Yeah.
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 So the big turkey was on Sunday. The biggest turkey of all of them. Microsoft
they
show.
Announced the Xbox.
Yeah, so the Microsoft
Xbox. I like that.
I would say Microsoft had the most to gain, let's say. Everyone, new hardware, no one else was announcing new hardware, right? So Xbox, continue. It was a big show for them.
Yeah.
Potentially.
It was huge. I thought
it was a monster.
I could not. It was, yeah. Oh, the Minecraft, the $600 USD Minecraft machine with the super duper graphics.
500 USD, 600 CAD. Let's be honest.
But no, you know what? Volume was probably the biggest associated adjective I would put with Microsoft. Yeah. They announced a lot of games, whether like good, bad, new, old, revisited, remastered, whatever, yada yada. They announced a buttload of games, and you know what? Despite my interest or lack thereof, I was just super stoked to see them really just understand their audience. Like, I don't think they don't have enough for One X, and they obviously didn't announce enough exclusives. I think they only have 5 real first-party exclusives between Crackdown, Forza, Ori. Ori's not first-party.
No, it is. It is. Well, it's like, sort of like second-party where they're...
State of Decay 2, and then
Sea of Thieves.
Probably Minecraft.
Sea of Thieves.
And Sea of Thieves. But there's no real like home run IP there, except for Anthem. But Anthem's not even exclusive. But no, I was stoked to see all their stuff. But yeah, they had the most to win. But I don't think they maximized their potential, especially in association with a new console launch. It felt almost Sony-like in the way they were like, here's this brand new powerful console, but we don't really have anything that shows the power of it, except for this game that's also going to be on other platforms, which was Anthem.
And also is like 18 months away.
The term widely used was launch exclusive, which is
exclusive.
Kind of like, and then in hyphens, launch.
Yeah.
Microsoft...
Microsoft was like, it was a confusing show because, like, yeah, they showed like lots of games, and that was great, and some of them looked good, and some of them looked interesting, and some of them looked bad, but there were still lots of games, which is always nice. But like, on the other side of it, it was kind of a disaster because they completely failed to sell like anyone on the Xbox One X. Honestly, like everything about it seems solid, like it seems like a solid machine, but they just, let's put it this way, I like making poor decisions with my money.
Yes, you do.
And me have literally zero interest in buying an Xbox One X, even just for my own weird enjoyment.
It's because they didn't really seem to have anything on it except for saying these games are coming out and they're going to look shinier on it.
Yeah.
And that was
do you think building itself in the family as the current gen consoles hurts it? Do you think not being able to really maximize its potential and build games exclusively for that platform, maximizing its hardware, do you think that hurts it versus do you think it's holding itself back? These hardware developers are holding themselves back by building consoles that can play both current gen and current gen 0.5 games. So like the PlayStation 4 Pro can play PS4 games because the PS4 has to play PS4 Pro games. They have to play the same games because we can't already take that leap. Do you think that's hurting this 0.5 experience?
I don't really think so right now because it's still really early, and also most of these games are coming out on the PC as well, and it's just like, you just scale the graphics down, scale the graphics up, but like, I mean, the thing, the lack of hard software was, it's just like they don't have enough first-party studios, and their schedule is poor, I think. Like, they've got Gears and Halo not present, for a year at a time each because of how they've ended up being scheduled. And then they don't have anyone else doing anything, really. They have Rare making Sea of Thieves, and... they have no real first party presence. And I think even if they just brought out a game like, I don't know, because you can't bring out Halo or Gears because, again, they don't exist right now. Like, a sequel doesn't exist. They just really needed like one big game that was just like, this is a first party game. It only exists on the Xbox One and the PC. And look how crazy good it looks on the Xbox One X. And they just,
Yes.
Like, they showed Anthem, it's like, cool, yeah, Anthem is, like, really pretty, but I'm not going to play that on an Xbox because it's multi-platform. I'm just going to play it on a PC.
I think, did they say, they needed something like, I know they wouldn't have been able to get this deal because I know Sony has their hooks in Destiny 2. But if they had been able to bring something forward like Destiny 2 is 30 on the Xbox One and 60 frames on the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
That's just an idea, hypothetical, but if they had something like that, that would have been just something, a little selling point, a little bullet point to put on the box for the future or the advertisement.
They're hoping 4K is that selling point.
Yeah, it's weird. Like their selling point was like, look at Forza 7, and it's like it looks like a pretty racing game, I guess. And
all racing games look pretty.
And I can play it on the PC, and I think that's going to be Microsoft's biggest hurdle in selling their premium console.
Well, I think what the console exists for people who don't want to own a PC but want good graphics, which I don't know that that's necessarily a very big audience, because most people, well, all of like our group, like we'll just play everything on the PC, and then that's fine. But like a PC is a way bigger investment than an Xbox One X, no matter where you are. Like $600, that's the price of a base, of a 1070 in Canada, or maybe a little bit more than a 1070. A PC that's good to build is still very expensive, and there's still a lot of fucking pain in the ass things on the PC that I hate. And I understand if people say like, I have a 4K TV, I want the good graphics, but I have no interest in doing anything on a PC. Then the Xbox One X,
sit on my couch.
Yeah, the Xbox One X seems like a great thing for them because they can play their third-party games on it if they don't have a PS4 Pro already. But like, yeah, they just didn't do a good job of making it sound very appealing, and I think the name is terrible, and the price is terrible. Like the Xbox One X is a tongue twister, and I think, was it you, Joe, that was, I don't know, someone I think retweeted it or something, where it's like, what are the mothers gonna do when they go for Black Friday?
Oh, Jesus.
And it's like, I want the Xbox, and it's like, which one, the S or the X? And they go, which one's cheaper? And then you go, well, the S is $250.
There is 100% going to be a lost in translation purchase when someone says S and it sounds like X.
Yeah, and like X and S sound similar to begin with.
Really similar.
Yeah, and also $4.99 USD is like a lot, and then you translate it into CAD and it's $670, and you translate it into pounds sterling and it's a similar ridiculous amount of money.
2,470.
You have to donate both your legs to get it, and it's just like,
fuck off.
It's so expensive.
The general election.
It's Jesus. It's so expensive. Like it's just. It is. It's silly. But like they said it was always going to be a premium box, and that's a premium price, and it sounds like a strong console. But I have no interest in buying it, and.
If you have no interest in buying it, then they're in trouble.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you are the whale of hardware, as I'm the whale of microtransactions.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit of a microtransaction.
But you are also that whale as well. Yeah, we are mutually that whale.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't fall for the VR thing yet, and don't plan on it. I would say it's actually similar to VR, where it's like I have no reason to buy this, and it's just sort of like. Whereas I have a Pro and I am addicted to new GPUs and that shit. But the Xbox One X is just it didn't do anything for me. And I think some of their exclusives, well, Crackdown 3.
Metro.
Well, yeah, we'll get back to Metro. But I think I just want to say, like, still talking exclusives, Forza, Sea of Thieves looks charming and good. Crackdown 3 looks...
not great.
That was really surprisingly bland and generic. It really looked like the first one mixed with some mechanics stolen from the Saints Row series.
And
plus the Terry Crews meme. The Terry Crews meme has to die. He's not this marketable.
I like Terry Crews, but
Terry.
I'm not going to buy a game because he's in it. He's a likable dude, but that's,
I mean, that game was... No one played Crackdown 2 because it barely innovated on the first one. And it seems like after all this time, it's the exact same thing, and it hasn't innovated on the last one at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was announced...
wasn't a good demo.
I think it was announced 3 years ago.
Yeah, and the first time they revealed it, they actually showed some slightly interesting mechanics. There was a guy shot a a massive powered car into a building, and the building collapsed onto something else, and that was the objective. And this one, they just kind of showed people jumping around and shooting stuff and blowing stuff up, which we've seen in other franchises before, and it just wasn't a good showcase.
No, and it wasn't even like a graphical showcase. It has like this really ugly, like knockoff Borderlands look, and
I'm pretty sure Gears 4 was announced and released between Crackdown 3's announcement.
Oh, it absolutely was.
Inevitable release.
Halo 5 was announced and released between Crackdown 3's announcement and this reveal of it.
Christ.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, so that was... I mean, I've never played Crackdown, so I don't really care. But, you know, I mean, it just sort of...
it was
like,
good.
that initial trailer was like, oh, this looks neat. I can't wait to see more. And then, you know, you go into it being like, okay, this is like their only exclusive that they haven't really shown off.
Yeah.
And then it just looks like that, and you're like, ooh. And it was just sort of like stuffed into the middle of the conference, just like, it's just Crackdown 3, here we go. And it's, they've got a first-party problem, I would say. And
Yeah, there was actually a few games that kind of followed that theme.
Yeah.
State of Decay 2.
Yeah, that looked
didn't
rough.
do anything for me. Didn't do anything. I haven't played the first one, in all fairness, but this just
Didn't
like
look
a zombie
There was
survival game.
someone posting online saying that they know people at that studio, and they did not want to show the game off yet.
Fuck.
But Microsoft said,
Christ.
please, you are going to. So, you know, whatever. It's an unfinished game. It's probably not out for like another year anyways. But yeah, it looked rough.
Yeah.
Like it was like, ooh.
Animations were
The animations
bad.
were pretty terrible, yeah. But still, like,
And,
even outside of that show, like, Microsoft still has no first parties. Like, they have Forza on repeat every year, and those games are endlessly fine. Sometimes they're great. Forza Horizon 3 is amazing. And they have Gears, and they have Halo, and then they have Rare doing, like, the only interesting new thing. And it's just, like, they still don't have any, like, real first-party power. And they're not going to win third-party because Sony has 60 million consoles in the market, and they have, like, 25 or 30. So I just don't know. Like, it's just so weird. They're in such a weird spot still. And
Sea of Thieves better be pretty damn good then.
Well, Sea of Thieves turned me around because I was not sold on Sea of Thieves when I saw it. I was like, this is just going to be a meme, and I was very impressed with what I saw at E3. So if it turned me around, that probably says absolutely nothing about the actual graphic, but I'm looking forward to it actually quite a bit now.
Yeah, me too.
I like
Pirates.
We were all getting pretty good at playing these. Yeah, pirates and co-op, and like co-op is so cool these days because you're able to do a lot now.
Yeah.
I find as far as co-op goes. So
and also Charm.
It's going to be really fun.
Charm goes a long ways.
Yeah, even the writing in that I
cute.
thought it was smart.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it
It
was
was good.
clever and it was fine. Yeah. Outside of Crackdown's like failure to launch, outside of the Xbox's failure to launch, what are the things that jump out to you the most about Microsoft's press conference?
May I? Or Joe, do you want?
Yeah,
you go
may.
ahead, Joe. Joe, you go ahead.
Everyone together now.
No, let's go on to you know what.
Ah,
And
okay.
Jameson, you have to introduce it.
Okay, thank you. This was predicted exactly in the prediction podcast by me. I said,
After
what did
they
I
denied
say?
it,
I
too.
said, I bet it's time for a new Metro, and I bet Microsoft got them because they've worked with Eastern European developers before, and the fucking first thing they show, or the second thing they show, whatever, goddamn new Metro.
Yeah, boy.
I'm not kidding. This is the most excited I've been all E3. It's actually maybe
big.
the most
It was very
excited
big.
I've been at an E3 by an E3 announcement in a very long time, to be honest.
It was very
Cool.
unexpected. A really fun surprise that kind of came out of nowhere.
It was unexpected, but also like it was one of those weird ones where it's like I don't expect this because it's unexpected because it's so like there was just nothing leaked or anything. Like there were no hints of it or anything. But at the same time,
They denied it.
what?
They were denying that they had a game ready like for this year, and they full on said like there's no new Metro, and then
When did they say this?
I actually, if you like on the Steam page for Metro, the top news headline is no new Metro announced,
Yeah.
or, like no new Metro announcement coming, and lo and behold.
I wonder when that's from. I wonder if that was from this year or last year. Either way, yeah, but whatever they said, there was no indications whatsoever. I mean, they had said 3 years ago that we're working on a new Metro game of a different style, but it was totally bundled up, and I really like the Metro games a lot. And
yes, me too.
They have not made one on current gen, and it just sort of came out of nowhere, and it was a nice, really, really good-looking trailer. And they implied they implied open world and then clarified that it's not actually open world. It's sort of big open levels.
I think from the gameplay trailer you could kind of tell the format. I think you could anyway.
Sort of,
a large area, you can tackle it in whichever way you want.
Yeah, once they said it's big open levels, you look at that trailer and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they've said Stalker is a big inspiration, which is good.
Cool.
And they've said that there are all 4 seasons that show up throughout the game, spring, summer, fall, winter. I don't really need to. You don't need to sell me on a new Metro game. So, yeah, it was the most exciting new announcement of the show, I would say, for me personally, just because I like that series a lot, and it was a little bit out of nowhere, and it looked fucking incredible.
Definitely a different palette to it. It was very interesting to see him step outside and actually see it look kind of bright and colourful.
And some pretty interesting story implications, because he was wearing the gas mask underground and then took it off outside, which is the exact opposite of what the case is in the prior game. So.
Oh yeah, complete flip. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so apparently in the books there's some kind of big revelation as to why the air is breathable outside, which I'll be curious to see in the game.
Cool.
Yeah, Metro is an amazing series, and I highly recommend people play it.
I like its style. I like what it's going for. It's a unique entity, and I want more, and it looks damn good.
There's not much out there in terms of first-person shooting and survival horror and stealth and action. All these sort of things combined.
It's just got a really unique world to it as well.
Oh, definitely.
Which I really like.
Yeah. Ben, you haven't played those, have you?
I've started Metro a couple times, once on Xbox and then once on PC, and I just couldn't get over the controls. So I'm looking forward to getting Redux, and I've heard it's a very nice improvement overall in the product.
Yeah, the original release of Metro 2033, it's a little rough, but
I liken it to playing Fallout in the way it's first person set up. It feels very stiff.
Yeah, it's one of those games where people will say they really hate the way it plays, and I look at it and be like, yeah, I completely understand that, but for me, it's one of those weird games where it's the difficulty in playing it adds to the experience. Yeah. It makes sense to the world and to the lore and to the character and the guns and all that. And I understand that it's off-putting to lots of people because it's a little bizarre. But that game got me audible. I was jumping up in my chair.
Man.
Only one other game did that, and we'll get to it.
Do we want to talk about Middle-earth Shadow of War, of what they showed at the Microsoft conference?
I got nothing to talk about.
I got nothing to talk about.
Interesting, because you were quite interested before, Jameson.
Yeah, when they announced it, I was like, hell yeah, I really liked Shadow of War. It was really interesting, mechanically dense game.
Yeah.
And I'll still play it. Maybe over the winter as just sort of a mindless, sort of comfy game. But they showed it for way too long, honestly, at Microsoft Show. It kind of killed all the momentum, I thought.
They've showed it way too long in general. We've seen 10 hours of it so far.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. They put out a long announcement demo, and then they put out an hour and a half long demo or something, and it's just we get it. It's more of that game with 80 more mechanics layered on top of it, and And yeah, the Shadow of War segment was just a big momentum killer, I thought. There was a lot of orc talking and making jokes, and it was just the story stuff in that first game was kind of actively bad.
And it's way too colorful.
It is a little weird, honestly. When he pointed it out when we were watching, I was like, the saturation is a little weird on this. You were right. Because that first game was pretty pretty
gray.
Gray, yeah.
Which fits to me. Like,
yeah, you're in Mordor.
Is not a joyful area. Like,
but this is you like sort of expanding outside of Mordor. So, like, you're going into Gondor, I'm pretty sure, and sort of the perimeter around, the surrounding areas of Mordor, to my understanding. But
cool.
I'm not even sure if I'm going to play it yet, I'll be honest. I didn't even finish the first one, and I just can't be bothered to go back to the first one because I'm in the middle of the game in like kind of a far along stage, and I've forgotten every single component and mechanic about the entire game, so I'm kind of just spooked about jumping back into it.
You might have just had your fill of it.
Yeah,
and that's not bad.
It was
fine.
Technically very, very neat, and then I just kind of fell off the rail and just couldn't be asked to get back into it, and now there's a whole nother one coming, and I'm like, I don't know if I want another 30 hours of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not convinced yet.
I do love the concept of the Nemesis system, and I'm be interested to see how it is used in this one.
It was cool in the first game, I thought. Yeah, and I'm amazed that no one else has used it in any any interpretation of it. It's just.
Could you imagine if Spider-Man did something like that, like use the Nemesis system? That would be fucking so cool.
Or like GTA with gangs and gang leaders,
That would be really. Ooh, but now I'm thinking of Red Dead.
Yeah. I like and appreciate any innovation on artificial intelligence. Yeah. And I think that was the pull with the first one, and then this one is kind of like the novelty is kind of worn off a little bit. Maybe that's why I'm not really that interested in it. I feel like I've seen the Nemesis system in action. I appreciate it. I understand it. And I just kind of not interested in coming back for round 2 yet. But we'll see.
Other than that, I'm pretty much done for Microsoft.
Well, there's Anthem.
Fine. Oh, yeah, there is Anthem. Yeah, I'm pretty much done for Microsoft.
I'm surprised. I don't know why you weren't won over by it, Ben. I think everyone was kind of unanimously quite impressed by Anthem. Just did nothing for you?
No, like I said, like, we all felt this feeling when Destiny was first showed off, and here we are with Destiny, EA's Destiny, and I don't know, I'll just play Destiny. Like, I don't need this.
So you think you only have one, like, room for one, I don't know what this genre is called.
Absolutely.
MMO
if I'm gonna,
thing.
I only want to, like, I'm only gonna pour my time into one of them. Like, there's no sense to me in trying to balance and play them both and fill my time with both of them. And
it depends. It depends how deep you want to go into the experiences. Like, you and Jameson went pretty far into Destiny, where I didn't as much. And I can see myself playing Anthem and Destiny 2 kind of to the same extent, which is like a few days, 40 hours of gameplay, see the majority of the unique content, and just have some fun with friends. That's how I see myself playing both of those games in the future. So it depends how deep you want to go into them, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
To me,
go ahead, Ben.
To me, it's a big fish, small lake genre, and to see somebody else try and come into it, like, this isn't to say, like, I'm not picking Destiny because I love Destiny by any means. I'm merely like, Destiny 2 is going to be out first. Like, if Anthem was like, is Anthem coming out this year or not?
No, God, no. I'd be surprised if it even hits next year, honestly.
Yeah, then I will not be playing it. Like, Destiny 2 is already coming out. I already know how it's going to play because I love the way Destiny 1 plays. So Destiny 2 is going to get my money, and I don't have the time to do... Like, there's going to be other games out, or I'm going to still have backlog, and I'm just not going to need Anthem. And I want to be wrong.
They also haven't really seen enough of it, I would say, to, like, come to any sort of conclusion for me. Like, I looked at it and be like, this is a really pretty new thing, and, it looks like a video game, which is nice, as opposed to some announcements that are just a JPEG, and everyone loses their mind over.
Don't talk shit about Metroid, I'll slap you.
And, it's like, okay, here's this thing, and it's sort of Destiny-inspired, and you've got mechs and jetpacks, and you can fly, and there's dinosaurs and jungles, and, you say loot, and I say, but I was excited by it, and impressed by it, visually, obviously. But I was left saying, okay, that's cool, like, but, what is, like, the meat of the game? Like, what's the writing
and how is it gonna be different than Destiny?
Well, we don't. Like, the only similarity right now is co-op and there's loot. Like, that's all we know.
It's just a genre.
Yeah, but I was excited and impressed by it as much as I can be about a game that is probably 1 or more years away from coming out. So,
I just predict that by the time it comes out, I will probably be done with Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Can't be sure. I'm just
probably will be.
foreseeing. Yeah, I'm just foreseeing what I think is going to happen in the future, but I don't think I'll be skipping Anthem anytime soon. I think I would definitely be giving it a go.
I am tentatively excited by it. Also, especially because they said the Mass Effect 1 and 2 writers are on it.
Yes, that is a pro.
So, but I said it in the predictions thing. I have one BioWare game left in me, so they better nail it.
Yeah. And also, we're blaming this game for Mass Effect Andromeda's lack of polish, because everyone was working on this game.
Or all the resource, or they had all the resources and Montreal didn't.
So you could say that Mass Effect was sacrificed for this game brutally on an altar.
Maybe.
So
I
no
think
pressure.
they looked at which game was going to make more money probably, and they were like, I almost called it Destiny. Anthem is going to be the money pig.
Yeah, I mean, Mass Effect is a single player RPG, and those very rarely sell gangbusters anymore. So, but I will say, as soon as it's like 10 seconds into that Anthem demo when they're walking down the street and dude walks up to you, and in the span of about a minute, he says he calls you freelancer like 4 times, and I was immediately put off by that because of horrible nightmarish flashbacks to being called Pathfinder endlessly by everyone that I ever met in the galaxy. So I have one BioWare game left in me, and if they mess this up, I'm done. But I think it's great that they're making a game that is not. It does. You look at it and you don't immediately think like, oh, this looks like Mass Effect / Dragon Age.
Yes,
I will agree.
So, good luck. I hope they nail it, because I would like another game like Destiny. Honestly, The Division was neat, but it did not nail it. So it was a good show closer, I thought. It was a good.
Also Cuphead. But that's
Cuphead got a release date finally. Yeah,
September. I just want to say Cuphead.
Yeah,
really,
I mean that game's been at like 4 E3s or something. Like it's been an eternity. It seems like.
Yeah, they showed a lot of indie stuff. They had one of those segments where it's so quick you don't really know what's happening, or if they're video games or animations. You're like, is this coming out now? Never.
That game, Ashen game looks really neat. I like the
Ashen does look very.
How
and
about
they
that?
Had the Last Night.
The Last Night. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that looks nice. Yeah,
Dean actually showed off that he sent something in our Discord. He kind of alluded to it, and then that guy ended up going to make it was a game jam. It was a 24-hour game jam, and some guy made like a side scroller walk, and you can play it in browser, and then it ended up Microsoft was like, yeah, I'll take that.
They just had it at the show. I think it's still an indie game. I don't know that they're necessarily involved in the production of it.
No, but they were probably.
But I guess there was it's been around for quite a few years, that game, and or in like a really early or a miniature form. There was a Giant Bomb video of it from like 2014 or something.
Cool.
But I think it fell out of a game jam, and then it probably had one of the best art styles of the whole show.
Oh yeah, it looked amazing.
Just don't go online and read about the maker of it, because he sounds like a horrible, horrible nightmare person. So hopefully that's not reflected in the game. Cross your fingers.
Yeah, I don't want no one's agenda pushed to me via video
games.
games.
Though, that fucking art style was good.
It looks incredible.
Yeah.
So
I'm just thinking. Wait, I thought I just had. Wasn't there one more?
I don't think so.
No, they showed Assassin's Creed, but we can push that to Ubisoft.
Oh! What about that Battle Royale shoutcaster dude named Jethro Tull?
Moving on to
that part was amazing. That's why I watch E3.
Oh, you were the worst.
That was terrible.
Oh, come on.
The Darwin Project.
My chest hurts.
His name is Jethro Tull. That's his real name.
No, I don't believe that.
That's incredible.
That sounds like something you shout in Skyrim for sure.
That's a fucking band. Jethro Tull is a band, god damn it.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
Fuck.
someone in the comments will know. They'll save me. They'll be like, yeah, Jethro Tull is a band and not a man's
Because you're going to leave all this in. Because
Yeah, I'm the editor. I leave everything.
Yep.
I choose what everyone says. It's just me talking to myself for 2 hours most of the time.
Just cut us out.
So, the Elder Fallout Studio... Bethesda Studios had they had a guy come out for 5 minutes, and then they had a 30-minute grade 11 Flash animation showcase.
So bad.
I missed it.
It was, this was somehow, in my opinion, worse than EA's conference.
Ooh,
except for one thing.
Um,
We'll obviously get to that.
Yeah,
Actually, you know what? Before we go any further, I was asleep for this. It was 5 a.m. UK time, and I just kind of
You're weak.
I just woke up. I watched the stuff that was announced, but I've been consistently seeing people kind of meme about how terrible this conference was, and I just don't really get it. I don't know what was so bad about it.
So it started off kind of nice with like a little video of Bethesda developers' kids talking about how neat it is to have
saying the word
parents and-
shit and bitch and smoking cigarettes.
Yeah,
on
pretty
screen.
much.
It was actually pretty cool.
What the fuck?
and rapping about how cool it is to have parents that make games.
Oh,
Then
God,
literally
I hate children.
Jesus, Joe. Pete Hines walks out on stage and is like, "Hello, I am Pete Hines. Here's a video. Click play, Bob. Click play." And then they click play, and the DNA man from Jurassic Park, Mr. DNA, started narrating the video.
Okay.
Where he's like, "Welcome to Bethesda Land. Over here we have the new Dishonored DLC." And then they go and cut to a Dishonored commercial, and it's like, it was so weird and creepy because it's like the Fallout, like the Fallout commercials where he's got like the cartoony voice and they do like the little cartoon, and it's sort of like you associate that voice with like weird apocalyptic 50s commercials. And he just narrated like the entire show and was like, "Now let's go over to here and look at this trailer." And then 30 minutes later it ended. Like it was
Really?
literally 35 minutes long.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
And it was entirely hosted by the Bethesda Land tour guide through these really weird animations, and Pete Hines showed up at the beginning and end, and that was it. Like literally, and it was 35 minutes.
Don't think people liked it very much.
No, it was at least it was short, I guess, and it just seemed like they had to do it because they did one last year and the year before. So it's like, well, we can't not do one now.
It'd be a sign of weakness if they opted out.
Yeah, but one positive of that show is that every single thing they showed and talked about was a 2017 game, which I liked.
Right.
And I mean, they talked about Quake Champions, which I don't give a shit about, and they talked about Elder Scrolls Online, which, and then they said they're doing a Dishonored DLC, which is cool.
Yeah, it's good.
I like Dishonored a lot, and I look forward to playing more of it. And then
The paid mods for Skyrim.
And Fallout, which is, it's fine, whatever. They should try that again, and not do it in like the worst way possible.
Yeah,
60,
I think there is potential for that to work out. I think they just need to get it
some
right,
mods
like
take an enormous amount of work, and
hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
and people should be paid for hard work.
People should be okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the way they did it last time, it was just such a disaster last time, and everyone.
There was no notice.
It was just like one day it's like, oh, paid mods are on Steam, and some of the most popular mods turned into paid mods, and it was just a disaster. So, it's good that they're trying it again, and they're doing it like on their storefront that they've created, and it's just sort of like, okay, let's try this again on a smaller scale, and try and do it a little bit better. And then they rolled out the game of the show, Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Subjective,
Colossus.
but yes, it was very cool.
The new Colossus, looking like the greatest game ever made. So they win.
It
they
was
win E3.
probably the best game introduction I've ever seen at E3. It just kept going, and it was consistently incredible.
8-minute reveal, which is like
with live action and cutscenes
so
and gameplay and wow.
Yeah. What they showed, man, like story-wise, like the performances, like that they got out of the VO and the animation and the cutscene was stellar.
I mean,
stellar.
You should play The New Order if you liked that.
It's downloaded. It's like I want to wrap this garbage up so I can go play that.
The New Order is a masterpiece of single-player campaigns, and it's bizarre and ballsy and hilarious and like really soft and gentle, and that game is fucking incredible. And I feel like Wolfenstein: The New Colossus, like the success of the first game, that Bethesda just said, you guys can just do whatever you want. We'll get in touch in 3 years. Goodbye. Here's the money. And then they came back and saw it and were like,
what's wrong with you guys?
Oh no. But then you roll it out on E3 and everyone loses their mind because it looks incredible.
It looks amazing. Yeah, I think it has one of the most unique tones in video games. It looks disgusting, disturbing, and twisted, and then it is comical and just really quirky and fun at the same time. There's some scenes in the gameplay trailer which are like really, really twisted. I think I remember one bit where like a Nazi's about to like bash someone's head in, and
someone's definitely
like,
about
dancing.
to be beheaded with an axe.
Someone's
trailer.
like clapping in the background, all chirpy. And then there's just like someone tripping acid and looking at a lizard. You're like, I don't know what this game's going to be about, but I'm excited for it.
So what team handled this and what team... So two different teams handled this in Doom?
Yeah. Doom is id Software.
Yeah, I figured. I didn't know if id was still like... id was still kicking around. They did... They created Wolf and Doom and Quake, obviously. Yeah,
and then they made Doom 3, and then they took 5 years and made Rage, and then they took 5 years and made Doom last year. And, their team is completely different than it was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. This is Machine Games, and Machine Games spun out of Starbreeze after...
Oh, cool.
After... I think it was like 2008, 2009. So it was after The Darkness and the Butcher Bay games, the Chronicles of Riddick, Butcher Bay, which is an amazing game as well, Escape from Butcher Bay.
I haven't played them.
I played a good amount of Escape from Butcher Bay, and it's pretty awesome. And The Darkness was another game that's like, this is a really neat first-person cinematic story game.
It's cult classic, The Darkness is.
Yeah, and so they spun out of that, and it's many of the people that made those games started Machine Games, and then they were bought by Bethesda. And so they're technically like Bethesda Sweden or something, but they go by Machine Games on all the games and all that stuff. And Wolf: The New Order was their first game as that studio.
Awesome. That's crazy that they gave them Wolf. Like they get like
well, remember this was back when Wolfenstein had been. I mean, there was that.
It was going through the ringer at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there was a Raven game in 2009, which was it was neat and weird and kind of curious, but Wolfenstein didn't mean anything for the longest time, and it was sort of an old, almost forgotten IP, and they gave it to these guys, and it was Doom 2016 before Doom existed. It was really like the first like revival of a franchise I think that's ever worked so spectacularly, and now here we are in 2017, where the two best first-person shooters campaigns are Wolfenstein and Doom. Once again, we've come full circle.
Poetry.
Still the kings.
Yeah, and
it's cool. I would love to see them do 3-year cycles.
Yeah, I wonder. Doom.
6 years, 3 years, so it'd be 6. Because if you put it Wolfenstein every 3 years, or no, it'd be Wolfenstein, and then 3 years later Doom, and then 2 or 3 later.
I mean, they're different devs, so they're
4 to 6 year cycles.
Yeah. I mean, I hope they're making another Doom campaign. You would hope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's probably another 2 years away or so. But I love that this is an E3 where Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, is like almost unanimously... if it's not the game of show for everyone, it's like in the top 3, like, what the hell, this looks incredible reveals of the show. And everyone...
It was definitely my top 3.
Yeah, and I would say pretty much everyone is excited for it, and I want that game right now. And I love that it's coming out October 27th.
Oh yeah, I'm just glad
soon.
There's been a few franchises that I'm a fan of that haven't got like mass appeal, like Metro and Wolfenstein. They've sold well, but they haven't always been like in the public eye. And E3 really kind of elevated these franchises and put them on people's radars, which I'm really happy about. It's good to see IPs that people don't always know about get a bit more attention.
Absolutely, and hey, Evil Within 2, we almost forgot about it.
Okay, I was gonna bring it up. I couldn't remember if it was Ubisoft or Bethesda.
That's a Bethesda. They own that studio. So Joe, as the one man alive that liked the Evil Within,
well, I don't know.
Are you excited for 2?
Yes, yeah, I am.
I know.
The Evil Within was the best survival horror that's been around in a long time. It was just horrible to play in the way that it was just anxiety-ridden, suspenseful. It just did survival horror right. It felt like the old Resident Evil games. And the best thing about the game was the boss design and the enemy design. It had some horrible design in that game. And I look forward to seeing what they do with the new one. I feel like the, what's it called? The guy with the safe on his head.
Sure.
And like the big spiky club. Like
Mr.
That
Safehead.
is like, yes,
Mr.
exactly.
Safehead, yeah.
Stuff like that kind of sticks in people's mind, and you see it at like Comic-Cons for years to come. They've just done a really good design, a really good job of the horrible design in those games, and it looks a little bit samey. You know, it's not too far away from the first game, so I'm sure it'll play exactly the same, but with new gross stuff. But hey, you don't get survival horror games very often, so I'm down.
I don't know if you know this, but
what's not broken.
What's that?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't fix what's not broken.
Sure.
It would be nice if it plays in 60 frames per second this time and not letterboxed. That would be nice.
I don't. The letterbox, I can almost guarantee you will not be back. But you'd probably have to go for PC for 60 FPS.
Sure.
I think it's running id Tech 6, I'd imagine, or some variation of it, like Wolfenstein is now. Thank God.
Yeah, the first game was a bit rough on the eyes.
id Tech 5 is a just terrible engine. I don't know if you know, but the guy that created Resident Evil was the director of Evil Within. So
nice.
Yeah,
not surprised.
Yeah, and that's out soon as well. Friday the 13th in October. Like that's I love Bethesda. Clearly, you know, they announced Fallout whenever that was. Was that last year? No, that was 2 years ago. When they announced Fallout 4 and then shipped it 6 months later, it was well received. People liked that, you know, where it's like, here's a new game, it's a big game, and it's out really soon, and they seem to have
it's good PR.
Wanted to, it is good PR.
You don't forget about it.
Replicate that, yeah. So, you know, in terms of presentation, I would say Bethesda's was pretty awful, but they had Wolfenstein, and so when Wolfenstein played and it was over, I forgot about everything negative about Bethesda because that was such a high point.
That's very fair.
Yeah, good stuff. Wolf and Evil Within, good for me. I'm happy.
Yeah. And they somehow managed to make more Dishonored. I'm amazed. That game did not sell well. Bethesda's so weird, honestly. Like, I feel like all their games they put out are these really good, like, first-person, almost always first-person campaigns that are not doing well financially, but everyone loves them, and so they just keep making them. Like, they put out Dishonored and Prey and Wolfenstein and Evil Within and Doom, and like none of these games have set the world on fire money-wise. No. They've all done respectably, or they've bombed like Arcane's games, which is really unfortunate. But they keep making them, and I thank you for that, Bethesda, because you know, if we didn't have Dishonored or Prey in our lives, we would be worse for it.
Maybe they're just chilling on like Skyrim and Fallout 4 money.
Well,
and
that's
just doing
the thing.
What they want.
That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, Bethesda Game Studios has generated the overall company so much more money. Like the publisher, you know,
and those games help bolster their critical catalog as well.
Yeah. Like you have one studio that makes a game that sells 30 million copies. It counteracts everyone else selling, 1 million or 2 million.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that they are continuing to do this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
If you are enjoying thus far our very terrible mismatched discussion about this year's E3, just want to remind you that this is an edition of the Defend the Trash podcast, our Patreon exclusive podcast. You can obtain our monthly edition of each podcast for just $1 a month. Incredible.
Jesus.
Just I have spent literally hundreds for much less. So I implore you out there, if you're enjoying even slightly hearing us three just idiots discuss video games, please check out our Patreon. And thank you for your continued support.
I should have clarified at the beginning of this video that mine and Jameson's monthly roundup reviews are still happening, and we haven't taken this format of video and made it a Patreon exclusive. It's just a podcast. Mm-hmm. I should have said that 1 hour ago, but, Jameson in editing, you've got that, right? You got it? Cool, thanks.
Yeah. So,
deep sigh.
So, we'll,
you better say it right.
They had a PC gaming block. I'm gonna hold off for now. They had a PC gaming block. They talked about PUBG. They talked about some other stuff, but I mostly only recall PUBG because that's kind of the only thing I care about that would have been discussed about. Where they showed off some mantling animation, and I think they unveiled their new zombie mode as well, which is going to be PvP.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's a thing. And PUBG is still going to be a giant thing that slowly dies away over time.
Like all things, of course.
Like all things, yeah. So, anything you guys want to talk about as far as PC gaming goes this year's E3?
I didn't pay any attention to it. Never have.
Wonderful.
No,
Joe?
I did check in, and it was just Day9, who's a Twitch streamer. I like him. I think he's a good character. He was hosting it. And he was just kind of having some intimate conversations with devs about games they didn't really care about. But it's a very simple format, which I think's fine. They just didn't show anything I gave a shit about.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Okay.
So on Monday or Tuesday, depending on where you were, Ubisoft
Thank you.
had their press conference. They're Quebec-based.
No, they're France.
France-based.
I think they're in Montpellier or something in France.
That's right.
But they have 800 people employed in Montreal, so it's easy.
Yes,
to,
they're all French. That's all.
Yeah. Well, except for their 90 other studios that are in every time zone on Earth, so they have rolling development happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But they are French for the most part.
Yes. Not that should take away from their game lineup. So, myself, I know I was really excited about one of their games, but they had 3 or 4 big ones that they were showing off during their conference. They opened the show with, I think, one of the games that, whether you're excited for it or not, took a lot of people by surprise, which was Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Boy, oh boy. What a thing.
Nobody could have possibly predicted what this game was going to be, what it is now. And, it looks very, very cool. I when I saw that Mario was pairing up with the Rabbids, I, had to consider multiple options to end it all. I thought
everyone was so mean. They're like, the Rabbids are terrible. Why would they sully Mario with him? It's like, fuck you. The Rabbids are fine. They're not the minions. They're fine. God damn it.
I think
just associate them with the minions, and the minions are evil.
I think this is actually my favorite game reveal overall of the whole show. It started off with Miyamoto having a really soppy interaction with the Rabbids guy.
Oh man, watching that dude. Yeah, watching him cry, man. I was like, he's probably watching his hero. And he's watching his hero. I was like,
There's a good interview with him after that says he got into games because of Mario, and it's his absolute most revered franchise, and everything about him sounds like he's the creative director. He has been wanting to make something with Mario all his life and is putting his entire soul into this game.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I mean,
man, nobody you don't get the chance to work on a Mario game as a third-party dev.
It's
you don't.
The most fabled of franchises to get to touch, and it's...
And then just that transition between thinking this looks goofy and stupid and I don't care, and then the revelation when I was like, wait,
XCOM.
I was like, oh my god, it's XCOM, and I said it at first because it just looks like the same genre, and then 30 seconds later I was like, no, it actually is just XCOM. I actually was waiting for it to be like partnered with XCOM, but no, it's just an XCOM game. That was my favorite time of watching E3, to be like 10 seconds ahead of you guys, because it was like this trickle effect in our Discord where I was like, it's XCOM, and then Jameson was like, this is weird, and then 10 seconds after me, James was like, oh my god, it's actually XCOM, and wow, what a fucking weird hybrid this is. I'm so excited by it.
You know, they have a piece in the racing genre. They have mobile pieces now. They have their platforming, like, juggernauts. Like, why not go after the strategic third-person real-time strategy shooter game? Why not go there?
Turn-based strategy, come on. Get it right.
Oh, sorry.
After that gold mine, yeah.
It was no, man, it was so cool. Like, everything about it, it looks pretty.
Looks great.
Like,
yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, incredibly surprising. It's probably
the best
also
Mario of the show.
Ooh.
Subjective. It's definitely in my top 3 reveals of the show as well.
Oh, yeah.
I was super blown away. I'm very, very pleased with it. Completely turned it around. And is that this year? No.
Yes, it's August 29th.
Holy moly!
August,
Switch
I had no
exclusive.
idea. Wow, August, fucking
Man,
hell.
the Switch is stacking it up, man. We'll talk about it later, but
Slowly.
what do you guys want to talk about?
Well,
Ass Creed. Okay, you go.
I was just gonna say, you know, Ubisoft has been their shows are always magical and bizarre and very out of touch. It seems like in a way that's like really adorable.
It's perfectly in touch. It's
it's so in touch that it's out of touch.
Yeah, it's like on the fringe.
I mean, last
like
year
the
they had
iris.
a paid cosplayer, and Aisha Tyler confronted him about generating a meme on the spot, and you know, like it was incredible. So when they said like, oh, there's no Aisha Tyler, it's like, oh, that's a bit disappointing because she's so good at generating just the most awkward, weird shit.
Yeah.
But you know, it worked out so well, and I think Ubisoft had the best show in terms of the in-between games. It's a tricky thing to get right, and I think Microsoft does it all right, because I think Phil Spencer's a good hype man, and he's a good, honest. He seems like a relatable human being. And they rolled out a few other devs, and EA is the worst because that company's run by a robot. And then Bethesda, you know, there were no people on stage. And so Ubisoft, I didn't expect this at all, but they had the most human show, and it was really great. And you know, you look at that, if you lean back, you look at it, and it's like, okay, this was actually like really calculated, because they're like saying, please, God, please don't, Vivendi, please don't perform your hostile takeover on us. We're so human, and look at us, we're beautiful, we're making games and crying. But it was effective. Like, you see that man, a grown man with a beard, weeping over the fact that he gets to make a Mario game is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And you see later Michelle...
Even Eve and Shigeru with the friggin' like handguns doing
wacky even
poses.
Miyamoto,
Like, those are 2 60-year-old men.
The 2 most adorable CEOs on Earth pretending to be like in a game and running around with fake Mario guns. Like,
loved it.
It was great. And then you have Michelle Ancel at the end crying again and about excitement. And there was an honesty to it, and like a humanity to it that was really, really nice. And we'll get to Sony, but like it stood out at the show, especially compared to someone like Sony, where it's just like human beings make video games, and I don't know why the industry is so like tight-lipped about that fact, but like there are humans that make these games, and they care a lot of the times about making these games, and it was nice to see that reflected on stage, and it made me want to not like it made me. Feel bad about the fact that they might get overtaken by Vivendi, because Vivendi is a horrible nightmare company, and it made me think like, man, these guys are all so genuine. Like, please let them continue what they're doing.
It was just a great job when it comes to PR.
Yeah.
I think people forget that these conferences are also shows. People watch them to be entertained, not just for a big list of game announcements. That's kind of one factor of them. And I think Ubisoft just kind of nailed pacing and personality, which we'll get into like Sony. But I think it's just really good PR if you like and sympathize with people behind products. A testament to they tried to bring on YouTubers in in EA because they thought that would win. But just liking people goes a long way when it comes to selling products. And I've been a bit sour on Ubisoft in the past, and this kind of just shined a bit of a different light on them, and I just warmed my dead heart a little bit.
Even the big, tall, brash Far Cry guy, he has this
he's commanding.
Having him this year, he is having him this year because he's always been
he's the Far Cry dude.
He's memorable.
Yeah,
he's Mr. Far Cry, and he's always been an interesting piece through their conferences in previous years. And to see him come out for this one, for a show that has been that was humanized right out of the gate, and then he came out and it's he fit a lot better in this conference, I found, and because he was this game fucking rules, and it's that's cool. He's pretty much said that, and I was that's fine, because this isn't some robot shill presentation that is totally heartless and soulless. Everyone's coming out, they're crying about their game. Marcel at the end, tearing up. I was this is incredible. This is
wonderful.
This is feeling this is so cool. And I don't know.
It was a good show from Ubisoft. We can get back to the games, but that show part of it was really nice, and
really good.
It was a real standout, I think, which is shocking from Ubisoft.
So we had Mario, we had Assassin's Creed.
I'll just jump in and quickly say I was ready to be won over by Assassin's Creed because I usually keep a pretty open mind about games in general, and I have really liked the Assassin's Creed game in the past, and I like historical settings, ancient Egypt, The Year Off, that was a big one, and nothing they showed did anything at all for me. It just looked perfectly fine, and then they popped the drone out.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's an eagle, and it even makes the same sound when you turn the eagle on, and you're marking enemies with a drone from Watch Dogs, from Far Cry, from all these other games, from the Tom Clancy whatever the fuck game. What was that called? Wildlands.
Yes.
That was the point where I was oh, they are just making the same game. They're not necessarily making the same game as the prior Assassin's Creed games. They're now just making another Ubisoft all game where it's just here are mechanics from the past 3 games that we made that aren't Assassin's Creed. Now it's in ancient Egypt and it's called Assassin's Creed, and it's just I wouldn't say I was disappointed by Origins because I'll live happily ever after if I never touch it, but I was open-minded and ready to be won over, and I left feeling absolutely, completely uninterested in Assassin's Creed.
I actually was very disappointed by Origins.
Yeah.
I haven't touched Assassin's Creed since 4, since Black Flag. The series got too repetitive for me, but when I saw Far Cry 5, I kind of had this feeling that they were redoing their franchises. Maybe they hadn't got the sales figures that they really wanted, and they thought that this was the time for change and innovation. And as you said, it had taken a 1-year gap break, and I was really expecting it to look completely different. I will get into Far Cry 5, but I think it looks different enough for people who are a bit burnt out on Far Cry to be hey, I actually might give this a go. But with Origins, I was just this looks like Assassin's Creed in a pretty cool setting, but that's pretty much the reason everyone goes back to these games anyway. It just didn't have a new selling point for me. I mean, it has fucking hippos. I don't know. Maybe some chariot races, maybe a few little novelties, but the franchise just doesn't have this new impact that's going to make me go back to it over any other Ubisoft game. Disappointing. I wanted some more innovation in that franchise, and it looks like, as you said, an all-in-one Ubisoft game.
Yeah, it was really, honest to God, it was really the Eagle drone thing that just made me not want to play it. If they hadn't shown that, I would have been yeah, sure, whatever. But as soon as they showed that, it was kind of shocking, honestly, because it even makes this weird electronic noise as well, and it was just, it was so bizarre.
They need to get a little bit more grounded in things. Even they really should understand that. Well, I'm assuming that this is Animus based.
Well, yeah, it always is.
So that's why there's all the Eagle memes and all that garbage.
But think about the first game. It was such a neat, you were almost there. It was almost like this weird Hitman game where the main goal is to assassinate people and gather intelligence and figure out where they're going and what they're doing, and then sneak in and then kill them and try to escape. And I feel like that like the essence of that first game has been completely lost over the last 10 years, which is a bummer, because I think, AC2 and Brotherhood, they were reasonably different games from the first game, but they were still great. But I feel like that essence of the first game was a really amazing idea that was lost, because, exploring ancient cities and trying to stealthily assassinate like one person is a great concept, but I guess it just doesn't, I don't know, it's just been completely lost, it feels like, over all these years. And it just looks, I'll probably end up playing some of Origins, because I've played a little bit of every one of the AC games. They eventually get to a decent enough price, but it was a bummer. And I feel like generally most people were not too impressed by Origins, which is, it was really them taking a year off that made you think like, oh wow, that's big. But to come back and just sort of be like, it just looks like more of the same.
Maybe that year was spent ripping out the ship combat from Black Flag and transferring that into a brand new IP. That's where that year went, I think. Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones, yeah.
It looked like that's exactly what they did, was they just took the pirate ship combat from Assassin's Creed 4 and just turned it into a game because people loved Assassin's Creed 4.
I mean, the ship combat's good, but hasn't it been in like 3 more Assassin's Creed since Black Flag? Like, haven't people played like a lot of this ship combat by now?
Well, they haven't existed past Black Flag. There's been no combat in any of them since Black Flag.
Okay, no ship stuff.
No, because it was all like, it was London and France or Paris. So
I might be thinking of like the little spin-off ones that
like Rogue, which came out I think alongside Unity. That did have ship combat, but that was like the last gen only game. I really like pirates a lot. I really like pirate games a lot because they're so few and far between. I really liked AC Black Flag a lot. I really enjoyed just cruising on the ship and driving around the ocean, landing on little islands, letting me mates sing sweet shanties that you could collect.
They really nailed it. To be completely fair to them, they completely nailed it in Black Flag.
And then they revealed, they did the classic thing where it's like, it's a multiplayer online connected adventure. And I was like, okay, I'm out. If it was single player, I would be so on board. If it was PvE, like cooperative PvE, I would be on board with that as well. But I have no interest in playing a multiplayer pirate ship game at all.
I'll get pissed. Get my ship taken.
I just
like it's cool that they're doing it, I think, because it's still like a big budget pirate PvP game, like For Honor. It was a neat experiment, and it's cool that they're doing it. But I don't like multiplayer games that much.
I guarantee you'll see that game. You'll see that game given to everybody on Twitch.
Oh,
everybody
for sure.
Yeah.
Because it'll get the For Honor treatment. Because the second you said For Honor, I was like, oh, this was their For Honor this year.
Yeah,
and they're going to give it to everybody to see if they can get something. I don't know. I thought that was a waste. I think Skull and Bones is going to be just like, sure, it'll probably technically be fine, but it's just gonna flop.
I mean, it seems people are trying new things with their new IPs, especially E3. People showed some new concepts and ideas, and this was like something that we'd seen before, which I think is a big deal now in video games. I think people are looking for new experiences.
If it does as well as For Honor, I think Ubisoft will be completely thrilled.
I don't think it will.
Ubisoft For Honor did really well, and no one expected it to do very well.
But it was different. For Honor, I think it had a hook and a novelty, and they did something which
this
I think
does as well. It just might not be a hook for you,
True. I mean, it's got Sea of Thieves though to go directly against.
It seems like a pretty different game between the two. Honestly, like Sea of Thieves seems a little more Destiny-like.
More co-op.
a little more cooperative PvE type stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that game's also still a long ways off. It's probably, a late next year title as well. If they say that there is single player or cooperative elements, if it's not just PvP, I'll be interested. Yeah,
because they teased like a kraken underneath a ship at the end. So if there's some interesting world events that are kind of story based, then maybe I can see myself giving it a go.
Yeah. What else did they have?
They showed more South Park, which looks like South Park.
Yeah.
And then they closed the show with Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Right, yeah. Which I didn't think that they would have that there, because I'm pretty sure they said, like, they said a year ago or so that they were making it officially, and then they said, I could have sworn they said recently where they said they're not going to have it at the show, which they might have said that and then changed their mind or have just been lying. Yeah, we got a really good, fun CGI trailer for a game that basically doesn't exist.
I thought it was the biggest surprise of the entire show. I just haven't been keeping my radar open when it comes to Beyond Good and fucking title, Beyond Good and Evil 2. I didn't know it was even really coming out. I thought it was just kind of lost in development and it was just kind of cancelled. And then the trailer was so different in tone from the original game, which I played through about 2 years back, which I liked. It's just a simple kind of simple platformer with a kind of unique personality which people have kind of grabbed onto. And this trailer was just nuts. And it was kind of crude, and I had no idea what was going on. It kind of reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, Jesus. I did not expect the title to pop up, Beyond Good and Evil 2. It kind of blew my mind. It was a lovely surprise.
Liked the visual tone of that trailer. I really didn't like the writing at all. It was just like... I didn't like the writing. It was just that monkey was swearing every other word, and it was just like, why? Shut up, please. But the visual, like the world design and character design was really excellent, though.
Yeah.
The world design was very nice.
And then Michel Ancel came out and was crying because he was ecstatic that people have fallen so in love with this series, and he's finally able to make another one of it. And then they said it's a prequel, and people were disappointed. And then they said it's an online interconnected world, and I sunk deeper into my chair. And then they said it might go early access, and I sunk even deeper into my chair. And then they said it doesn't really exist in any form right now. See you, in 17 years or whatever. I like good trailers like that, but I am bad at getting excited. I am unable to get excited for something that is so nebulous and so far away.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. But it was a good moment, absolutely, like 100%.
That's what you go to E3 for some nice surprises, I think.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 is really like the last of those mythical games that has been talked about.
We're never seeing Half-Life, are we?
No,
Half-Life 3.
Half-Life.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Half-Life 3 is it's been at the top of that mythical game mountain for all of time, and it will probably
But Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been right there.
Yeah, but we've had The Last Guardian come out, we have had Final Fantasy come out,
Final Fantasy 7 remakes.
All these different things have been announced and are being made, and Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been talked about. I mean, they announced it 14 years ago or something, and and then it disappeared for so long. And yeah, it was a good moment, and then they started saying where it was at and what they were planning, and it sort of got a lot less interesting. But maybe in 4 years when it comes out, it'll be cool.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anyone really cared, but I thought Far Cry 5 looked really good.
Oh right, Far Cry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to go back and give it a rewatch, because the second I saw the gunplay, I was like, oh, it's Far Cry 3, because they've all been Far Cry 3 since Far Cry 3.
You got to keep some flavor of Far Cry in there. It's got to feel like Far Cry. It's just when it comes to repainting their franchises, sometimes Ubisoft could not be very thorough and creative, and I think Far Cry 5 looks like a pretty steep jump, especially when it comes to Ubisoft's main franchises. And I think some people aren't really sure if they can handle the subject matter. It seems like a job for a more skilled writing team like Naughty Dog or Rockstar, but we'll see. I think the main theme and look and setting of the game looks kind of disgusting and kind of horrible and brutal. I think they might pull it off. Maybe. It's got some strange tonal stuff going in there. In the showing, they introduced the buddies, kind of like Metal Gear Solid 5. You had little sidekicks, and it was all kind of whimsical and fun. So I'm not sure where they're going with the tone of the game, but I think I'm sold. I like.
Fucking dog is not D-Dog though. So
no, nothing will ever come close to D-Dog.
Can Far Cry Dog wear a fucking Kevlar suit and stealth up behind someone and slit their throat? No.
And then do a backflip.
Diamond Dog, number one dog. Fuck all the other dogs.
It's true. It is true. They have no hope of being the best dog game.
Dee is the best dog in the history of video games.
Yeah. He was
Joe, I like your optimism about Far Cry.
It's good that you're optimistic because I am not. Which is mainly because I just haven't had the Far Cry games click with me.
That's true. It's my favorite Ubisoft franchise. Definitely over Assassin's Creed.
Jesus.
And actually, what else do they have? That's kind of all I'm comparing
Rayman.
Rayman.
Oh, okay. Never mind. It's my second favorite franchise from Ubisoft.
Yeah, I need to see like 20 minutes of gameplay of it, and I need they've said there are no towers, which is great, and there's apparently no mini map, which is cool. But like I still need to see they didn't really give it a proper gameplay demo. I have no expectations that they will pull off this setting in any way that is appropriate. But I'm not. I'm sort of just like in the middle right now with that game. I need to see more of it to either be on board or completely not interested. I also feel like Wolfenstein is going to make that game look bad when it comes to crazy people, evil white people in America.
Yeah, when is Far Cry out?
Next year, early next year.
It better not
I
be
would
too
suspect
close to
like
Red
March
Dead,
or something.
It's in trouble if it's close to Red Dead.
Well, why would it have to worry about Red Dead?
Just when it comes to the kind of gritty, dirty, open world theme.
Subject matter seems similar.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them's a Western.
Maybe not that close. Maybe I'm thinking into it too much.
Maybe, yeah. Whatever. Everything has to get out of the way of Red Dead,
True.
That is true. That is very true.
Nothing from Tom Clancy. There was nothing Tom Clancy, eh?
They're probably making another Splinter Cell game.
I was kind of hoping for Splinter Cell. I like the new series, Conviction and Blacklist. Yeah,
Blacklist,
I like them.
Yeah.
Good games.
I've never touched them, actually. I just sort of missed out on them. I never got around to playing them.
They're good. They're slick. They're nicely polished.
That Blacklist game was quite a while ago now. It was like 3 or 4 years. So I'm sure they're working on one, Tom Clancy will get his. He always does when it comes to Ubisoft games. I know he's dead, but his son's name is Tom, so...
Okay.
His son's name is actually Tom, so...
No
T-H-O-M.
way.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god.
He's in charge of Tom Clancy's games.
I hope they change him as well.
I hope it too as well. It becomes Tom Clancy's The Division. It's probably a silent H, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, shit.
I'm pretty sure. I hope I'm not making that up.
I
sure his name
really
it is. It's T-H-O-M Clancy.
Christ.
Yeah. Son of author, level designer, barista at Starbucks. Okay, maybe he's not in charge of Tom Clancy anymore. Poor Tom.
Rip. No, his name makes sense though. That job title and name, total match made in heaven.
Starbucks name misspelling meme, right?
Yeah.
Nice meme, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah, but other than
that,
but
Ubisoft satisfied we're going to announce a new exciting, crazy thing at the end of their show, which they've done regularly, and it's predictable, but it's still entertaining.
Yeah.
They had top 2 show of the week for me.
Even though I didn't really care about any game they showed except for Mario plus Rabbids, it was the personality and the tone and the amount of new it was heartful or heartfelt. There were new games and there were games that everything looked respectable game wise, but it was more the personality of it that really stood out for me.
I agree.
Yeah. So we had Sony's 2018 E3 conference.
Yeah, the last of them.
They showed an incredibly stacked lineup for 2018. I think they forgot what year calendar it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also forgot to turn the sound on for half of it as well.
Holy
They
shit.
also forgot for their first two. Yeah, so I don't know. This was a worldwide epidemic, I thought.
It was on Twitch for sure. If you were watching the main PlayStation feed on Twitch, it was a fucking shit show.
Yeah, they lost audio for the Horizon DLC announcement and the
Uncharted thing.
And half of Days Gone, I think. I think that's what fixed it.
It took them like
Yes,
15 minutes to get their
Christ.
audio right, and God, it was a technical disaster in some spots.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting juxtaposition you'd take from the Ubisoft to the Sony press conference, because the Ubisoft one goes without saying, we've talked about it a million times, had a bunch of heart, very human, lots of soul, lots of emotion. And then we go to Sony, who has always kind of been square, heartless, like heartless business, but like also more in touch than EA, or like more like.
Well, I mean, they were pretty good for a couple of years. 2012, 13, 14.
Yeah.
They had a lot of people on stage.
Yeah. I could listen to Mark Cerny talk all day. He could lull me to sleep.
I miss Jack Trenton.
Kiss me on the forehead. Jack Trenton could wake me up in the morning with a nice bacon egg breakfast.
Yeah, and scotch, I'm
ready
sure,
to hit the
right
lake.
First thing in the morning as well.
Yeah.
Like,
We're gonna
miss
hit
that
the lake
dude
today, son.
Man.
Yeah.
Jack Trenton
He
was
was so
amazing, and
He
he
was
was so fucking good at his job. He was like the coolest guy in the world, and also the
he was
CEO.
so passionate too, like so passionate. Like when they took down Microsoft when it came to the current gen consoles, he was so jazzed. Like backwards compatibility, and like he was, or whatever the fuck they were going with. Like, oh yeah, you can play it offline. And he was just like, and he
enjoyed
sunglasses on at one point,
stabbing Microsoft in the gut over and over again.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Their stage got fired. Their stage almost got fired during this show. But anyway.
Yeah. So when did this was really just started last year, where they just decided like we're not going to put any human beings on the stage. We're just going to click play on this trailer reel, and we're also going to like make a big deal about how arty our stage presentation is, and then you're all going to be amazed and fuck you. That's it. And everyone lost their mind last year about how good Sony's show was, and I really didn't like it, honestly. Like, they showed a lot of cool games, but it was just like, it was just soulless and a little disorienting as well, because like the VR section was poorly labeled, and then it just ended with more Days Gone, and last year's show was not great, and this year continued that in terms of presentation. Content was relatively great, but presentation was just... Like, it's literally, what's his name, Sean Layden, who's good at what he does as well. He comes out and talks for 5 minutes, and then he walks off stage and comes back an hour later. And it was just trailers that played. It wasn't even demos. Like, that was the thing. Like, last year, they announced a lot of things, and it was trailers. And that's fine. Trailers are good for announcements, but it's been a year now, and all these games are a lot closer. And I would have wanted, like, I still don't know what God of War is about. Like, what is that game? Like, what is 10 minutes of that game? Yeah, they did a demo last year, but they didn't talk. What is Days Gone, like, outside of this linear mission? It's an open world game. I only knew that by going online and reading an interview. What is...
Yeah, I thought it was going to be completely linear.
Yeah, what is Spider-Man outside of this linear mission? What is... what's the other thing they have? Fuck.
God of War, Days Gone, Spider-Man. That's pretty much it. Those are the three big ones.
Yeah, so I mean, they announced all three of those last year, and I would have expected, first of all, one of them to be out this year, but not a single one of their big games, new games, is coming out this year, and I still just don't know what they are. Like they played trailers for them, and they even did demos for Spider-Man and Days Gone, but they were not narrated in any way. They weren't, there wasn't someone, they just, Sony doesn't, it feels like they're not trying anymore to sell you on anything, because they feel like, well, we don't need to sell you on anything, because we're so ahead. And, they're not wrong, but like, it just makes for an uninspiring show, where it's just like, wow, those games look incredible. It's like, yeah, they do, but like, what are they about? Like, what's their story? They're just... Microsoft is good at telling a story with their hardware and their vision, even if it's not a very, I don't know, even if it's not like a convincing story, Sony doesn't even try. They've just completely given up on trying to tell.
There should be like a golden rule in E3. It's like you announce a game one year and you can be vague and you can tease it, and then if you're going to bring it back the next year, people need to go away understanding what your game is.
Yeah.
And Sony brought Days Gone, God of War, Spider-Man, and they showed them all, like more, and we still don't really know the format of them or how they play. I don't know.
When are they out? Like.
Yeah.
You know.
What did I just say? 2018 for all of them?
Well, early 2018 for God of War, and then 2018 just vague for Shadow, Days Gone, and Spider-Man. And it's like, you know.
There was no Shenmue either, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Not the Rip. There was no West. That was actually no. There was no Eastern or West.
Well, there was Monster Hunter, and Shadow of the Colossus is Japan studio, but you know. I also dislike Sony's trend of announcing games for purely to win hearts and minds, and then, you know, saying under their breath, like, this game doesn't exist basically right now. You know, Shenmue and the Final Fantasy VII remake, and even the Shadow of the Colossus thing. It was like, well, like, what is this? It's you dig online. It's like, okay, it's actually like a full remake of the original game. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But, you know, I'm glad there were no projects like Shenmue or Final Fantasy VII at this show, because those are really infuriating. Where it's just like, we're making Shenmue 3, and it's a Kickstarter. But I just... Sony show is just so frustrating, because it's like, there are all these great games, but you still don't know anything about them, and you don't know when they're out, and that's annoying, you know? Even... It's also a little weird, and you pointed this out, Joe, how much they look like The Last of Us. Like,
they do, yeah.
Days Gone and God of War, you look at it and be like, boy, is it ever obvious that The Last of Us sold like gangbusters and is one of the highest praised games of all time.
I was so happy when Donkey pointed that out as well.
Yeah, like Naughty Dog with God of War, Naughty Dog with Days Gone.
That made me
It's a little bizarre. But we should, you know... be positive here. That Uncharted thing is out August 22nd.
Looks good.
And it looks good.
So
I like Chloe and
hours?
Nadine, and you know, they're
Girl
good.
Power in 2017.
Hell
you know?
yeah! You know, 6, 8, 9 hour Uncharted game for $40.
Yeah.
Awesome. Horizon DLC, even if it's 6 hours, any more Horizon is good Horizon.
Fuck yeah.
God of War still looks really cool.
Yes.
I don't know what that game is all about. You know, I don't. Is it linear? Is it open world? I don't know.
I think
but
the
it looks
God of
cool.
War,
I think it's gonna be linear.
I would imagine so.
Linear. I feel like the God of War showcase this year was the least informing over what they did.
Yeah, it was just
year.
a trailer. Yeah,
like Spider-Man showed how like combat works. Days Gone showed that there's like some human interaction. You're fighting other humans, and you can use the hordes against humans. But God of War just kind of showed more fighting, and we know there's fighting in God of War. I want to know, is it like a From Software type inspired game? Is it difficult? You die in 2 hits? In God of War, you can take quite a few hits. They didn't show any boss fights. Boss fights were like the biggest thing about God of War. They showed a big old snake at the end, but he was your friend, so they didn't really show any big old boss fights, which is the staple of the franchise. So God of War.
I feel like God of War. I feel like it's gonna be linear. I feel like he's treading over areas visited in the previous games, showing his son his journey.
Well, no, because it's in like the weird, you know, sort of Norse setting.
Oh yeah, true. I don't know. It's gonna be It's.
I like the lore that they're going with in that game, where it's like, here's a Greek god, and he's now in this Norse environment dealing with Norse mythology. Like, that's cool and weird. I mean, that game still looks great, but I don't know anything about it. Days Gone did fucking nothing for me at all.
Yeah, you guys don't seem very into that game.
It looks like the most generic all game that I've ever seen. But I'll shut up for a minute.
I decided before we recorded that I am on board with Days Gone.
Okay. I think we were discussing this on Discord, and I was saying the main hook for me is the horde zombie technology. Something we haven't really seen before. You know, games that try to do big crowds of zombies like Left 4 Dead, but this looks like something new technology-wise. I always like seeing how new tech has pushed old genres and formats. So I'm looking forward to how they handle the zombies in Days Gone. I don't really care about the human versus human stuff. It kind of looks like Uncharted plus Last of Us. But I want to see the open world stuff, and I want to see, is it spooky? That's what I want to know. Is it scary?
Last year certainly felt like a big tech demo, just demonstrating the horde and showing how just volume on screen. And it definitely seems like you could easily tell that they trimmed a lot of the zombies out of this demonstration just because they probably added so much more to the game in the back end, right? And
and that might have just been there. I mean, I wouldn't expect there to be swarms of hundreds and hundreds all over the game. I mean, they showed one or two little packs of 50 or something. Yeah,
which is still still when you think about 50, that's still at once.
Yeah.
That's a
lot.
lot.
Scary
I think it's. You know what? I don't know what it was about it. I just was thinking about the games that Sony put on show, and I was like, you know what? Days Gone looks like it's gonna be just fine, and it'll be comfy, and it'll be 12 hours. And I'll probably
it's an open world game, so it probably won't be 12 hours. It'll probably be 40.
Hell yeah. You know what? Sure. I'll take it.
I don't know. I just looked at that and thought The Walking Dead sure is still popular. And I never watch it and don't care about it, but people love zombies, and I don't know. I'm just sort of tired of it. And
it is looking like one of those games which is kind of walking that line where we might forget it ever existed by 2019. If you know what I mean.
Maybe, yeah. It just doesn't look like it's doing anything special outside of a technology thing, and just the way that it just looks like The Last of Us, and there's crafting, and it just looked like it was an amalgamation of many of the popular Tomb Raiders, Uncharted, Last of Us, that sort of things, which is fine. But yeah, for the zombie thing to do anything for me, it needs to be doing some good stuff. It's also probably more with story than with gameplay for me, because that was that's what made The Last of Us appealing. Is it plays great and looks great, but the story stuff was the king of it. And I don't know. I need to be sold on Days Gone still.
Yeah, and, that's fair.
It looks really pretty though. I mean, but that's applicable to every Sony game. It looks incredible. What else was there? I guess that I will say that Shadow of the Colossus remake is exciting to me because I've never played the original game, and I've always wanted to. And
I've never finished it, so I would be giving it a go.
The visuals they showed looked great, and I hope they make it control well, because I know the original game didn't. I remember playing a very small amount of it, and I mean, that was their one big new thing really that they showed.
Well, I disagree. I think Monster Hunter World is a pretty big thing. It's a franchise that has been on the PSP consoles a lot, and it's also been in Japan a lot, but it hasn't really been westernized and brought over to a AAA widespread worldwide thing, and I'm really looking forward to finally giving that franchise a go. It's been revered by people. A lot of my friends are diehard fans of it, and I've never been able to try it. So I just think getting to try a fresh franchise that's been out for a while that people love is exciting. I'm really looking forward to giving that game a solid go. It's always seemed really unique in what it does.
I was going to say the Shadow thing was the only thing new that they announced that I gave a shit about.
Yeah.
Sorry, Monster Hunter.
Should we touch on Detroit Become Human?
Oh, yeah, I guess, they did show more of that.
Boy.
I mean, I have no interest in David Cage games. I've never played any of them, but I've seen a lot of...
Oh, you didn't play Heavy Rain?
No, I've seen a lot of Heavy Rain, though.
Oh, man. That's a good game.
The writing and voice acting in that game is terrible. That Heavy Rain seems like a game that, at the time, was amazing. And it reminds me a little bit of L.A. Noire, where it's like, this was a really neat game at the time, for different reasons between the two, but it has aged horrendously. And,
I played through Beyond Two Souls, and that was not very interesting.
I just don't think David Cage is a very good writer.
Yeah, that
and
sounds
that
about right.
comes off in the trailer that they showed, because, man,
it was cringy as hell, man. It was just
pretty awful.
Film student level trailer bullshit, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. maybe it'll be neat though. Maybe that was just a bad section, but
Yeah, I like the optimism.
I don't really care. I don't really care about David Cage games at all. So
yeah,
if you want to do like a really cinematic, scripted, heavy scripted game that's not a lot light on gameplay, like your writing needs to be really good. Like Tales from the Borderlands, like Until Dawn, which is not necessarily so much about writing. It's more of I don't know I don't even know what makes Until Dawn so great. It's mystical, unknowable. But if you're doing, oh god, that was a good crack. If you're doing, really heavy, especially now in 2018 when this game comes out, or 2019, your writing needs to be really good. I think writing standards have really gone up. Like writing expectations from people in games,
especially in in TV and video games over the last few years.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to like stuff about robots and humanity, like those are heavy themes that, when handled poorly, are just embarrassing.
It seemed very heavy on like fight the power type stuff, and it just seemed a bit cliche.
Yeah, so
we shall see. Do you want to comment any more on Spooderman?
What? Oh, Spider-Man. Oh,
it looked good. It looked really good.
Yeah. I know that was like a... Okay, yeah. That was, a cinematic level with lots of QuickTime events, and I know that it's an open world, and those QuickTime stuff won't be there. I like Insomniac games a lot.
Yeah.
And I said it last year, I don't know when I said it, but they seem like the perfect people to make a Spider-Man game, and it looks really solid, and I want to see more of it and play it eventually.
I'm really looking forward to it because I think it is the truest, like, outside of that linear experience, we get like the full open world, because I think this has the potential to be the best Spider-Man game we've got since Ultimate Spider-Man, other than the original Xbox, and that's exciting to me anyway.
Yeah, even the old Spider-Man games were just super fun to swing around. I loved Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation, and I barely touched the actual story. I just swung around like an idiot, and it just felt so good. So if they, refined that and made it good for modern standards, they're very good at traversal in their game, Insomniac. So just really, really excited to see how it feels. I think that's the important factor when it comes to Spider-Man. Does it feel good to swing around? If it does, it's going to be something good, I think.
I think we saw that with the wall running too. Like, it looked like it was really easy to traverse around,
seamless.
And the speed, like he keeps the speed when he hits the wall, and he
the wall running animation is like fell right out of Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, he rides his hand along the wall.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I was like, oh
exactly.
boy.
That's good. That's good.
I'm that, because that's what you're going to be doing the most of. That's how you got to get from A to B. So I'm really hoping the world traversal is top notch. It looks like it is. It looks like it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I agree.
And they've said good things about it. It's like, I think they said like 4 or more times the size of the Sunset Overdrive world.
Christ.
There's lots of stuff with Peter Parker not as Spider-Man.
Cool.
There's Marvel wanted them to dig deep into like the back catalog of Spider-Man villains, which is something I really liked in the Batman games, is learning about these villains that that were
Clayface and all that,
that are not the Joker. Yeah, like Clayface. Like, who the fuck is Clayface?
Cool.
So I like that. I really liked that aspect of the Arkham games, and if they do that with Spider-Man, it's I like lore stuff and don't know anything about comic book lore. So it was a good show closer. It was a good looking game. And I again, like all of Sony's show, everything they showed except for the first 10 minutes, I look forward to playing most of these games eventually.
100%. Eventually,
one day. Maybe next year. Maybe they'll get delayed, There was... Just a second. I thought there was something... There was like one more thing that was like on the tip of my tongue about what they showed, and then I forgot about it.
I'm just looking for the E3 recap. Just scrolling.
Oh yeah, they talked about virtual reality. I was seriously shocked by that. I was convinced that they were just going to pretend like it didn't exist. They showed like 4 or 5 games. All of them
shit as well.
Pretty terrible. Yeah. Except for that one game from
Elijah.
Supermassive. No, that was Ubi. Supermassive, who did Until Dawn. They have 2 games or 3 games, but one of them is, I don't know what it's called.
The Inpatient.
The Inpatient, and that takes place in the Until Dawn universe, 60 years before Until Dawn, and you can apparently like speak and interact with characters, like speak with your own voice and interact with them.
Fuck?
And those guys have like a good sense of creativity when it comes to sort of.
They're playing 4D chess.
Exactly, and that was the only VR game they showed off that didn't look like hot garbage. So
yeah,
I was surprised they talked about it, but then they showed the games and I was like, oh right, VR is still kind of a joke.
Unfortunately, so yeah.
They announced Hidden Agenda in the pre-show.
Yeah.
They announced 2 things. They gave Knack 2 a release date, and they announced Hidden Agenda, which is again the Until Dawn studio. And it looks like another Until Dawn style game where it's like a sort of murder-ish mystery-looking thing, and it's got like Jackbox Party Pack sort of style, like cooperative integration with your phone. And,
everyone can die or everyone can live.
Yeah, and Until Dawn is a wonderful, wonderful game, and this looks like another Until Dawn style game, and that is actually apparently out this year.
Ooh, wow.
Neat.
So, yeah, I look forward to learning more about that because Until Dawn is a killer game.
Yeah, I will take anything from those guys.
Like, and now I'm thinking of the concept of, like, if, let's say, there are 2 people sitting in a chair and you have, like, you have the button on your phone that saves the other person and the other person has a button on their phone that saves you, and you, like, have the option to try and swap their phone and save yourself.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they have to try and, like, that. Like, that's just the concept of how
that could be interesting,
interactivity goes. But, like, yeah, or you can just, like, sacrifice yourself and save them voluntarily, or you can try and, like, swat at their device and save yourself by doing that. That sounds like a hell of a concept. So if they do something along those lines with a new murder mystery, like, last man standing type game, I think that'd be
You can do a lot cool with the Jackbox Party Pack mobile phone technology, I think, for sure. And they definitely seem like they're integrating betrayals in the game, which could be
and it definitely
really
looks
fun.
like another like story-driven game. Not like a Friday the 13th thing, but like an Until Dawn thing where it's got a long cinematic campaign of some sort. But I Until Dawn is such a neat game, and I'm glad that they got more money from Sony to do more stuff like Until Dawn. Sony just sort of put that game out, and they got lucky because it was really good, and Twitch and YouTube really caught on to it, and that game was successful because it was good, and then also successful because of the internet. But like Sony just doesn't seem to give a fuck about them because they announced this game in the pre-show, and it's like if they had put that in the main conference, I think people would have leaned forward and paid attention because
I think it deserved to be in the main conference.
I completely agree.
Fucking take Detroit Become Human and put that in.
Yeah. I guess I don't know why, but whatever. Sony's so bizarre. That was a cool announcement that I wasn't expecting. Especially wasn't expecting it in the pre-show.
Yes, because I wasn't even paying attention. I didn't think they were going to announce anything of note, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Sony conference, lots of trailers, lots of
Yeah.
footage, not much information.
I mean, their first party is like so fucking stacked, though. Like,
yes,
like I said, you look at Microsoft and it's like, here are these franchises that have been going for a decade, and they keep putting more of those games out, and that's fine. But then you look at Sony, and it's just like Uncharted, Horizon, Days Gone, God of War, Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian, Monster Hunter, and then all the Japanese stuff, and you're like, holy shit, this is insane.
They have so much.
They have so much. It's kind of crazy. But not much this year, so.
That is true.
Yeah.
So, do we want to transition on to the last conference of the entire show?
I absolutely do, because they were my other top 2. Maybe the best. Maybe the best conference of the week, in my opinion.
No, what conference are you talking about?
Nintendo, dude.
Oh, fuck. Oh, right. Fuck, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did.
Nintendo!
When I was looking at my list, like EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, Ubisoft, who, what, huh? And then he's, oh, right, yeah, Nintendo, right. Okay, yeah, go on.
Hats on
How dare
everything.
you.
I want a hat on my water bottle. I want a hat on my chair. I want a hat on that building. I want a hat on my computer. I want a hat on my hat. I want a hat controlling a hat. I want to see what happens there. I want hats everywhere.
Yeah, Mario's hat got a name. That was pretty big.
Yeah, man.
It's called, what's it called? Hattie?
Cappy, you idiot.
Cap-
Oh, my bad.
Jesus. Huge lore
Who the
implications.
fuck names their hat Hattie? Come on.
I mean, potato, they're the same thing.
Hamster,
That's
hammy, hattie, hat, potato. But no.
genius. This is why you're here.
So, Nintendo's Spotlight, always hilarious, always weird green screen, weird gimmicks. The
Yeah.
Switches.
it was light on the hilarity
It
this
was,
year,
yeah.
though. It was just sort of like men standing in front of
yeah.
a green screen for no reason.
The Switch is out. It's doing good.
Yeah, you're right.
Everyone's like, I want to do something for the Switch, kinda, but it's mostly just Nintendo. We got Metroid. We got Pokemon Switch announcement. We got friggin' DLC for Zelda Time 4. I'll say it again. We got friggin' Mario Odyssey. I'm so excited. It was awesome. I loved Nintendo's press conference, and you can fight me.
Cool. No,
okay.
Picked a lot of
I
boxes
think they showed a
for me.
lot of things, and if you're into what they showed, then I'm sure a lot of people had a good time. I think Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4 was a big announcement.
Oh, yeah. It was a
yeah.
picture of a logo.
Yeah, but it's you suck.
I'm sorry. I just don't get excited for games that don't exist right now. And you know, they say like we're making a Pokemon game. It's like, okay, like see you in 3 years. We're making a Metroid game. It's like, okay, see you in 3 years.
But they're coming, and it was an
Sure,
announcement of an
I
entity
guess.
that now exists somewhere and it's coming. And it
And
wasn't
you know
before.
the cardboard Luigi thing looks fine. I don't actually like the aesthetic as much as I like the yarn so much more.
That
It's
yarn
Yoshi,
aesthetic.
you nerd.
What?
Yoshi.
Did I say Luigi? Did I
Yeah.
say Luigi? Oh, whatever. Same thing. I don't give a fuck. They're the same.
it?
They're green.
He
Whatever.
says Yoshi.
Yoshi cardboard. I much prefer the Kirby yarn look. But also that game's not out until next year. I don't know what it's about either.
Also, new Kirby game that's got co-op, man. New Kirby.
Did they announce a
coming
Kirby
out?
game? I don't remember.
Yeah,
that.
man. Yep. New Kirby game. It's like a retelling of the original, and it's got 4-player co-op, and it looks baller.
My problem with most Nintendo games is that I don't trust that they're going to be interesting to play for very long. Because, I mean, I dabbled in some of their stuff on the Wii U, and it was like I played, you know, what was it? Captain Toad, Treasure Tracker, and the Mario thing, and one or two others, and like Splatoon. Oh, God. Oh, fuck.
Yes.
And then, and they were just like really, really boring and easy to play. And they announce these things, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but like, what, is it going to be engaging? Because people loved Captain Toad Treasure Tracker and that Super Mario 3D World 2.0, whatever the hell it's called, Wii U, and they were just like mind-numbingly boring to play, and I just didn't understand why people what game they were playing that was so fun and engaging. So
I feel like Nintendo has a sub-genre of games which just come under the title of comfy, where you just play them, you don't die, and then you get through them, and you just kind of indulge in the easiness of them and the minor victories that come with pushing through them. And I kind of like some of those games. I recently pushed through Wind Waker, and it's probably the most childish Zelda game I played, and it felt like it was made for babies. But sometimes playing one of those mindless, comfy Nintendo games is comfortable. You just sit there, you just beat a game without thinking. But I don't think, I'm pretty sure Super Mario Odyssey does not come under that subgenre. Pretty sure that game comes under the Galaxy, the Sunshine, the 64, the reasonably challenging and creative games that
I mean, nothing
go to
they showed
Nintendo
of Odyssey
for.
looked challenging at all. It looked like you just walk around picking up random shit doing nothing.
Whoa, fucking hell, Jesus
Th-
Christ.
th- I think Odyssey looks super creative and bizarre, but I still need to see more of it because what they showed was just Mario walking around, doing like a tiny little bit of platforming, and it just looked, comfy genre, that's fine, but it's just, I think, too comfy for me to the point where I find it mind-numbingly boring.
Yeah,
and so
Nintendo
I hope
stuff is
that's
not
not the case with Mario Odyssey, and I hope that's not the case with this Yoshi thing or the Kirby thing. I hope there's at least something. It doesn't need to be challenging. It just needs to engage me, because the last games I played from them did not engage me. Just a sec. I'm losing my voice.
Hell yeah. We finally got that negative Nancy out of here. Let's keep talking about hats.
I was going to suggest that you go back and play Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Because if you can engage
I've
with
always
that
wanted
game,
to.
you'll probably be in the right place for Odyssey. Because I think it's along the same lines as those games. Or people are saying it's much more like the old one, Super Mario 64. Which do not go back and play. I went back a few years ago, and the camera and the controls haven't aged well. And I think you would blow your brains out.
Yeah. I said Mario plus Rabbids was the most interesting Mario game to me because it looks like a video game, and the Mario Odyssey thing just looks like you wandering around doing like very minor game interactions. Like I don't understand the structure and flow of Mario Odyssey. Like I don't know.
Yes.
Like, are there platforming levels?
Probably.
Is there any sort of challenge to it? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, like that's what I always hear. It's like, oh yeah, the Wii U Mario gets really challenging after you play it for 40 hours, and it's like, well, like, are you kidding? I'm not doing that. So
I remember the Galaxies being not easy.
That's what I want
in the Galaxies. And I believe it's the same format. I know you haven't played them, but pretty much there is one collectible at the end of a stage. You progress through a challenging platformer stage, which can kill you in various ways. Then you get to the end, and then you get an item. It looked like a weird moon in this game. In previous games, it's been stars. And that's pretty much a simple format. You just
so if it's got some challenge to it and a little more structure in parts of it, then I'm sure it'll be excellent and I will enjoy it. Well, I mean, people will love it regardless, but I'm not sure that I am completely sold on it yet.
Yeah.
Even though I'm going to play it, obviously, because it's a Switch game and there aren't many Switch games, but I'm not blown away by it.
It's going to be a bit of a wild year for you, Jameson. You're going to have dived into Zelda and a proper 3D Mario game.
Yeah, I guess, if you call that. I suppose that is technically new territory.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure people listening to this hate me even more now.
What is that subgenre? Because you haven't dived into that before, Jameson. 64 Sunshine Galaxies.
I think they're, I consider them hub world. So, like, Sunshine has the painted M's that you jump through to go to a different spot. And then 64 has the paintings. And Galaxy 2, I think, does a hub world style as well. So Odyssey is 100% going to be hub world style. And that, to me, is peak 3D Mario.
Yes, is the king of them. So, yeah, that's good. It'd be interesting to see what you think of them, Jameson, because I don't think you've tried them before.
I haven't, no. The only Mario I've touched is that one that they put out on Wii U, and it was boring. And then Mario Maker, but that that doesn't really count.
The classic Mario.
But
that is, to me, like the World 1, World 2 is the other, like, true platform style is the other version of Mario. That's
right.
Like,
yeah. Like I liked something like Rayman, where it starts out easy, and then by the end of that game, it's friggin' hard. And I liked the 1 or 2 Mario Maker levels I made because they were challenging me, like they were difficult to complete, and I liked that because the platforming is super tight. So yeah, I hope Mario Odyssey has that.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, I'm going to play like an hour of it and then be bored to death and never pick it up again.
I'm surprised they haven't put Mario Maker on the Switch yet.
Well, it's the dual screen thing that the Wii U had going. It makes it tricky, I think.
That is true, yeah.
How would you play that game if it was docked, right? Like I don't. Yeah. I think they should, because that game is pretty cool, but I feel like they need to do a lot to get it to work properly on a Switch.
I think it's probably time to trend.
Ben, just a sec. Ben's been saying he wants to get a Switch for a long time, and I've said wait until E3, wait until E3, wait until E3.
Yeah, well, here's what's interesting too. my girlfriend watched the press conference with me, and she wants one damn near more than I do.
Oh, easy.
She thinks the new. She's like, we're getting a Switch for Christmas, if not before. And I was like, before, because she saw Mario and she was in love.
Yeah, boy.
So it's and I mean like between she wants it for like 1-2 Switch and all that for like Christmas get-togethers and all that because she thinks the moment to be hilarious.
Sure,
it'll like it was hard. I was probably like a 6 to 7 before, but after E3, probably close to like an 8 or 9. Like it moved the needle for hardware, which is typically hard if it's not PC parts. But I definitely want one now more than I had previously, and I already wanted one pretty bad. So
cool. I will say
it's definitely
go ahead.
Definitely inevitable.
Yeah, you're gonna get one. Yeah, I will say that I haven't turned my Switch on in a long time.
Yeah, not surprised.
Still don't really.
So what you're saying is we can make a deal here, you and me.
Hell no, Mario plus Rabbids is coming out in August.
That's true.
Fuck!
It's coming out right before my long trip overseas, so that's gonna be nice.
Ooh.
It's gonna be juicy. That game looks so good.
It does look good, yeah.
So conference of the show. Who do you guys call out? Who do you think had the best conference of the show? And then we'll pick games.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think we're going to be mostly unanimous on saying that Ubisoft... Actually, I think me and Jameson are going to be unanimous, but I think Ben might throw a bit of a curveball. But yeah, I think Ubisoft took it. I think we've gone into details about why they completely won E3, in my opinion. Just some good levels of humanity and personality, and the game industry can be quite soulless at times, quite corporate, as we've seen from EA and kind of Sony. Yeah, so and I personally really enjoyed the games they announced. Far Cry 5, Beyond Good and Evil 2, I was really excited about, and obviously Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Yeah, I would agree. Like Ubisoft was really. It was just really heartwarming and pleasant, and even though I didn't really care for many of the games they showed, and in fact I didn't really care about almost any of the games they showed except for Mario. But Mario was like such a huge surprise where it's like, what is this thing? What? It's that? What? It's what? And then you leave going like, they're making a Mario Rabbids XCOM game and it looks amazing. And that was awesome. And so yeah, I guess Ubisoft probably impressed me the most. I wouldn't say there was any one that stood out for me the most in terms of games, though. I mean, in 2 years, Sony, you'll look back and be like, wow, Sony's show was stacked with all these great games that have come out and were really enjoyable. But in the moment, it was sort of like each company had like one game that's coming soon that I look forward to. So
Ubisoft was definitely, like, the heart that they showed was incredibly awesome and juxtaposed a lot of the developers or publishers conferences, but Nintendo's always delivered on the charm. Nintendo, I think, has always had the heart, and so and just with their game lineup, like nothing in Nintendo's game lineup looked bad to me or didn't appeal to me, and so that is why I had probably got to give Nintendo my conference of the show.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and so I think this also is pretty safe bets, but you guys have a game of show for E3 overall?
I'm actually just scrolling through because I haven't decided 100% yet.
Huh.
Yeah, it would be interesting because Joe and I are thinking about doing we might do a most anticipated list. We might not. We haven't figured it out yet. So it might spoil that, but I don't give a shit.
It might not. At E3 yet. They're still coming.
Yeah, you're true. Yeah, that's very true.
Ooh, this is kind of difficult to pick one.
Well, it's easy for me because I already said it. Wolfenstein, easy money. Wolfenstein looks so good, and it was, I fully expected it to be revealed there. I did not expect it to be out this year, and I did not expect it to be so confidently insane and creative. I
didn't pull any punches.
No, and I look at that trailer, and I bet the game ends up being a lot like this. It reminds me of Mad Max Fury Road, where you look at it and you're like, how did this get made? Like, in this world of, like, safety and political correctness and all this shit. Like, how does something so mind-blowing and weird and creative get made for such, on a big scale, on a big budget? And I suspect that game is going to have a similar effect as the movie, as Fury Road did, where it's just sort of flabbergasting and like breathtaking in its creativity. So Wolfenstein, man, does it ever look good. I cannot wait for October 27th.
Can't disagree, that's for sure.
I think mine is actually going to be Metro. I was going to give it to Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is still has a little ways to go to prove to me that it's going to be what I want it to be, which we discussed earlier.
Still a lot of variables at play for Spider-Man.
Yeah, but I feel like I am anticipating Spider-Man a little bit more than Metro, but there's more on the line when it comes to Spider-Man, and I feel more comfortable knowing that Metro is going to be what I want it to be. So I think winner of the show for me is going to be Metro.
Yeah, I would agree with Metro as well. It's just that the only reason I wouldn't is because it's sort of farther away. A little bit farther away. And Wolfenstein is just I picked Wolfenstein just because it's like so tangible and close. But Metro was I was so happy with that. So I'm glad you're giving it. You were excited by it as well because Ben.
This one was a toss-up because Wolfenstein's reveal was so cool and so over the top and so face melting, and but then again I was so enthralled in childlike wonder by Odyssey's like kind of reveal behind the curtain of what's really that
T-Rex
really
bit was really good.
Yeah. And I thought this was a good conference for just volume of games, despite the quality maybe not being there. But I will probably have to give it to Mario Odyssey, which is something I didn't think I was going to say going into into the week. But no, it just that game just took me by surprise, and I'm so excited for it. I remember looking at it with sheer pessimism last year and being like, that's going to be fucking trash. And then thinking about it and being like, you know what? Maybe New Donk City is going to be like a hub world. And then I damn near said the name, like, just as a guess, like, or Kong or New Dong City. And I was like, maybe it'll be a hub world, and maybe it will be like old school like 3D Mario. And lo and behold, here we are. And it looks, I don't know, I'm excited for it, and yeah, it really took me by surprise. Wolfenstein a close second though, and I was very, very pleased with Wolfenstein's reveal, and can't wait to get my hands on. I can't wait to dive into the first one. That way I know what to expect going into the second one. But no, overall I thought E3 was, I don't know.
It was good.
It's a 7. It's a 7 out of 10 E3, I think. We don't do scores in these talks.
We don't do 10-point scores, Joe.
We don't do scores for anything anymore. But it's just kind of in that barrier of being like not blowing anyone's mind, but everyone's kind of content and looking forward to at least something.
Yeah, it was a good software year. Like, not everything, lots of things that they showed, aren't coming out soon. But there were lots of games announced and shown, and the second half of the year looked solid. And, there was, every conference had a lot of games, which is cool. Except for EA, who had like 3. But, everyone else had a good showing of games. And, not necessarily everything is appealing or looking good or is close, but there is more than a few things for everyone, I think, at that show.
Yeah.
It was decent. It was respectable. It was, like you said, I think it was a perfectly middle of the road show but I think highlighted by a lot of games, which is good because we're deep into the generation and there should be a lot of games coming out for all these consoles.
If I had to make one suggestion, and I guess I'll pose this question to you guys as well. If I had to make one suggestion to make E3 better, I would propose to publishers that they understand the audience who are going to be watching E3 versus creating a presentation around the audience that they want.
So you mean no sports presentations for EA?
Well, no. Well, I feel like EA focuses too much on their sports because they get all their money from Ultimate Team, and that's fine. And it's not to say don't shut out the sports, because there are, like, generally if you play video games, like, for the most part, like Joe, you might play the odd game of FIFA if you're at a hashtag mates place cracking open a couple cold ones with the boys. Like, chances are, for the most part, like, gamers are more likely to play sports games. And sports games players aren't likely to watch E3.
Sorry. That was just such a fantastically impossible scenario.
I don't know.
You set up for Joe playing a FIFA game.
I don't
think you...
He's completely right.
But
That scenario is really, really common. I just sit down and drink beer and watch instead of actually playing myself.
Yeah.
I never play.
But like the general sports games players aren't going to watch E3. They don't give a shit about E3.
Yeah.
They want Madden 18 and they want FIFA 18, and they'll, like, you can do all that shit in a 10-minute YouTube video. The people who are going to watch E3 give a shit about Anthem. They give a shit about Mass Effect. They give a shit about Battlefront. Those are the, like, for Sony, like, show more gameplay demos, and, like, pull the curtain back a little bit more in your games. Microsoft's probably the closest to actually having a decent, like, presentation, despite the software lineup being a little bit lackluster, or, like, hit or miss, I guess. Yeah. But and Ubisoft just had a great show this year, really doing everything right. It could have been longer, I think, but maybe being longer might have hurt a little bit. I don't know. Ubisoft had a really good press conference, especially for being live with real people. And Nintendo's was all just a video, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. Plus, they're Nintendo. They, like, I don't know. They're kind of evergreen, doing things just fine, except for the Wii U. But
yeah, they have their little corner that no one can touch.
Yeah. So, but no, to me, it's about. I think the publishers need to go back and they need to understand who's watching E3 and who gives a shit about E3 versus who they want to appeal to at E3, because those people aren't watching E3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also E3 is just sort of generally becoming less important every year because so many of these games are big enough that you can just put them out, put the trailer out on YouTube. And
I hope some people take notes from Ubisoft and know that people like seeing other people when it comes to video games.
Yeah, I hope Sony doesn't do a third year in a row where they show a bunch of trailers and then, like, really masturbate over the beautiful arty stage that they've put together. And it's just like, I don't need, like, no one cares about your stage except for Sony themselves. And I hope they modify a bit. I hope people give them some shit because
I feel really sorry for the zombies who had to hang upside down during Days Gone.
Jesus,
on the stage.
That was so weird.
That must suck for those actors.
They had pyro.
Christ.
That whole stage show was just bizarre. But it, yeah, I think people generally didn't like this Sony show as much as they have in the past. So hopefully they pivot a bit.
I actually recall really liking Microsoft stage. They just had like a bunch of monitors that they kind of mosaic together.
Yeah, their stage was really. I loved their stage actually. Just all the structure and
which is simple.
Stuff.
Like you can see what's going on from a stream. You don't actually have to be there to enjoy it. I thought that was cool.
And like Sony used to bring out a lot of people. Like they would have those big indie sections, and they would get all the. Remember that. At the 2013 E3, they had like the circle of indie devs on stage with like their game playing behind them, and I don't know, they've just lost. Sony has definitely regressed in their public, in their PR abilities. Like they were really good at the beginning of the gen, and now they've gone backwards. And you see people.
They won the gen.
Yeah, and now they're just
arguably
putting their feet
gen,
up,
so.
putting their feet up, saying like, well, whatever, we don't need to do anything anymore, and like their weird interviews where they're like backwards compatibility is stupid, no one cares, and no one wants crossplay. It's dangerous for people on the platform, and it's like, what are you fucking talking about?
What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, it's like
what does
like
that
they're
mean?
they've regressed in their public image. I think for me, for the general public, it's like, they don't pay attention to any of this shit. But I think most people had good conferences. I would like to see some improvements from Sony in terms of the humanity side, and the structure, so. But 360 days until the next one.
Yeah.
I wonder if we get like more. Like this was it was spread out. It was Saturday, Sunday, Monday, E3 conferences. I wonder if that spreads even further. Or if we get like 2 on Saturday, I don't know. It's weird. E3 is so bizarre.
It is a weird thing. 2018 is going to be a big one, actually, I think.
Yeah, they have some opportunities as far as scheduling goes, I think.
All right, I think that pretty much concludes it.
That's Electronic 3.
Yeah, the E3 is log over for 2017. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us on this 2-hour journey. If you enjoyed our discussion, our banter, me dropping in and out of the podcast due to technical issues, we do this once a month over on our Patreon, patreon.com/DefendTheHouse. You can unlock our Defend the Trash podcast, where we have almost half a dozen episodes out thus far, for $1 a month. It's as easy as that. If I could, pay anything, just $1 a month. This would, like I said, I've paid horrible amounts of money for much more horrible
I don't
content.
even think I can get a loot box in Overwatch.
No, as Canadian residents, we cannot. So, you don't know what you're going to get with that. You don't know what you're going to get with this. But what you do know is you're going to be disappointed.
White, blue, white. For the end
You're going to be disappointed in the loot box. You may as well be disappointed with us. So make sure you consider slapping that subscription button down on patreon.com/DefendTheHouse. This has been a very special post-E3 edition of the Defend the Trash podcast. For Jameson and Joe, I've been Ben. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Goodbye.